What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode and live stream of Let's Get Nuts here on the Ben Thomas Show. Thanks for coming back. Guys, I am very excited because I have several very special panelists here for you guys today. Somebody who's brand new to the streaming in 1/6 scale, but definitely not new to streaming, and an old regular who is back, hooked up, and ready to go. We're going to talk some Hot Toys news today. We've got Inart teases from a big slideshow presentation that we got to talk a little bit about as well. We're going to talk Mars Toys, Jazzinc, and if there's time, we're going to get into some of our most anticipated announcements of 2024 coming into 2025 and what we might expect to see, of course, in January. So guys, of course, stick around. If you guys like the video, hit the like button, smash the subscribe if you're new to the Ben Thomas Show, and let's get nuts.
What are you doing? You're completely outnumbered here. Are you nuts? You want to get nuts? You want to get nuts? You want to get nuts?
You want to get nuts?
Want to get nuts? You want to get nuts? Come on. Let's get nuts. Let's get nuts.
Let's get nuts.
Let's get nuts. Let's get nuts.
Alrighty then. So we already got 20 people in here already. Last week we hit a record-breaking number of over 100 live viewers. So thanks for being here again, getting nuts with us today. Again, we've got a special show for you guys planned. I want to bring out my first panelist. Now, this person is actually local to me. I recently sold him a figure. He bought my Catwoman, if I'm not mistaken. Catwoman, yes. I sold a bunch of figures recently. He bought my Catwoman, and he's local here to me. Very nice guy. Used to do his own live streaming in a different kind of segment of the world, and I thought it might be cool to bring him in. So let's get him in here. We got Mysterio in the chat with us today. Good sir, how are you doing? Thanks for being here, man.
Good, man. Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's a cool platform to share and to get known into the community and start knowing some other folks as well. So looking forward to it. It's very exciting and something fairly new to me as well.
Hell yeah. Well, you got a crispy setup and a good microphone. And those are like my two requirements. So, dude, thanks for being here. I'm going to get some questions asked of you here shortly because I am curious how you got into collecting. But I do want to bring the other panelists in first. So, dude, thanks for being here, getting nuts with us on a Sunday.
Thank you.
Our next guest, you may have seen him streaming with Leal and a couple other folks out there in the community, and I'd poked him in the live stream last week to be like, hey, I want you on the show at some point. And thankfully he added me to Instagram shortly after the fact, so I was able to extend the invite to press X to continue. We got you here. Welcome to the show, buddy. Good to see you, man.
Yes, what was once but a dream has now become a frightening reality. Yes, I am here.
100%.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. I've watched your show for a good long while now, and I'm thrilled to be here to talk some plastic and to interact with everyone here in the community. So yeah, I'm here to get nuts. Thank you.
Excited to have you, buddy. Yeah, I've been really enjoying your take. Why do they call you the paint or the figure psychologist? Are you a psychologist in your real life, or how did that come to be?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know why they call me the Hot Toys therapist, but they seem to believe that I have a very soothing, calm voice. And when we're talking about spending lots of money on little men, well, it's a lot to unpack. It's a lot to unpack, So how do these pre-orders make you feel? What are your thoughts on Howard Chan and all of that? So, yeah, no, I don't know how I got labeled as the Hot Toys therapist, but hey, I'll take it. Talk to me.
Yeah,
Talk to me about toys. Let's do it.
Well, since this is Mysterio's first 6 scale live stream, he may require therapy after this. So it's a good thing that you guys are on the same show together. Yeah, you see how she goes. Dude, great to have you here, man. Thanks for being here. Of course, you're always welcome to be here and getting nuts with the boys. So good to have you here. Now, of course, the next guest, you may recognize him from all the Wolverine movies because he's definitely Hugh Jackman's body double. Very nice looking fellow, always looking good in a cowboy hat. Today he's actually got the Pirate Jack rings on as well. We got Dave X-Men Supreme back in the house. Good to see you, buddy. How you doing?
Feeling a little bit more like Macho Man right now. Ooh, yeah, cream of the crop. Nah, hey man, it's good to be here. It's good to be here with all you guys. Love to see some new faces, new faces to me anyway. Even though I know some of these names, but man, Press X, Mysterio, it's good to be on here with you guys. Ben, always a pleasure, sir. Thank you very much for having me. I'm ready to get down on some of these talks, some of these nutty gettins.
We got lots to talk about today, actually. It's a huge show. Considering it was a week where we didn't have a lot of news, I've got some things that I don't think you guys have already been making your rounds talking about all week so far. So I'm excited to get some fresh stuff from you guys. So, Dave, always good to have you here, buddy. Your 5 minutes for swearing is already up, so you are good to go. So love to see it. Our next panelist here, you may remember him from such shows as SpongeBob SquareBalls. You may also recognize this classy gentleman. He has made a return. Now, I'll give you guys the caveat. He still sounds just a little on the sick side, but he's rallied like Bane, and he is here. We got Mr. Classy Thomas in the house. Good to see you, buddy. Welcome back to the show in 2025.
How's it going, fellas?
Good, man. Good to see you, dude. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Now, Classy, you got to tell us. Since you've basically come back from the dead this year, bud, how does it feel to be getting nuts again in 2025?
It feels good. I mean, what else you gonna do on a Sunday?
What else you got to do on a Sunday?
Yeah.
Well said. Well said. That's why I'm growing my audience. What else do we do?
What else are you gonna do?
Yeah, it's this or that. Yeah, there's a segment in there, I'm sure. But Classy, because you're still a little under the weather, buddy, no pressure to speak on every subject. I've told Classy, everybody in the chat, just so you guys are aware, make sure you send him some thumbs up and well wishes that he's back. That he doesn't have to talk on every subject. So if I skip Classy on purpose a couple times, it's not personal. And of course, that goes for all of the folks here on the channel, because we got lots to talk about today. But Classy, dude, I love you, buddy. Thanks for being back.
Love you too.
Classy, I had told the story to the community a couple shows back that right when you were first in the hospital, you sent me a lovely voice note that said, "I'm so sorry I can't be there to get nuts with you today, but I'm in the hospital." And I was devastated, because I was like, oh man, the last thing I'd be thinking about is this live stream in particular if I was in the hospital. So the fact that you're that good of a friend, I appreciate that, buddy. So
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Hell yeah. All right, well, let's get started here, boys. We got lots to go over today. We got almost 30 people already watching. Thanks for being here, guys. I'm going to say hi to you here shortly. This is my warm-up topic for the day. So this past week, or I should say more at Christmas time, I was able to take advantage of the free 2 figures, the Superman, the black-suited Superman, and the Nightmare Batman. I was able to get that set in, and I was able to flip it here in Calgary before everybody started to do the same thing. And as a result, I was able to essentially get a Batman Begins figure paid off with a little bit of slush to be able to get the Jackson Chew cowl and cape. And so I finally got that in this week from Jackson, and you can see the Jackson head sculpt on the left over the significantly terrible head sculpt on the right. Shockingly bad, actually. In fact, I'm thinking about doing a short at some point on the show where I blowtorch and melt that bad one on the right-hand side. So let me know if you guys would like to see that, or if that would trigger anybody. But definitely considering it. But the reason I wanted to bring this to your attention is not because you guys don't already know that the Batman Begins is a freaking horrible figure, but customizing figures. It's kind of a fun thing to do sometimes, and especially when you have this like, oh man, I love that figure so much more now. I got that experience with my old DX12 Batman when I put a Jackson Chew cape on him years ago. It just changed the game of what that figure looked like. And now recently, again, this new head sculpt. So Jay, or Mysterio, I'll go to you first, buddy. Have you ever customized a figure in your collection and you're like, I absolutely love that figure now? Or have you stayed away from customizing and you typically stick with stock?
No, I actually dipped my feet in the customizing a little bit. When I first started collecting Hot Toys or 1/6 scale figures, probably about 15 years ago now, I'm aging myself. I came across a Dread figure, a third-party Dread figure. I believe it's from Figure Toys, the Carl Urban Dread. And when I got that figure in hand, it was pretty much just black plastic, black It wasn't leather; it was that bad material that always flakes. And I said, "Hey, well, I used to paint Warhammer and stuff like that, so I have paints already. I already have brushes. Let's give it a shot." So I applied some techniques that I knew from previous, and it ended up being still to this day one of my most favorite figures, looking figures, just because of the detail and just something that you're proud of, right? Um, Besides the dread, after that I got Anderson, his partner, did the same thing, did the paint applications, just more on the suit. I didn't do anything on the face. That's way above my skill levels. Um, like painting faces is completely different kind of ball game, but when it comes to like armor and weathering and stuff like that, it's pretty manageable. But it is fun. It makes your figures unique to what everyone else has for the most part, and it gives you a sense of pride and feeling happy and feeling like, hey, I did this, and I feel great about it. I
Yeah.
feel good putting it on my shelf, and you just have that sense that you really feel good about it, right? Lately, I did do a customization on a Superman figure, the Inart Superman. I did a couple things to the shoulders, beefing that up a little bit. I actually attached that hexagon peg that goes into the body, the back of the body for Superman. I ended up modding that piece so it goes on a actual Hot Toys flagpole, the bendy one. Um, so it's not just straight up, and I could also adjust the height. So I do small things here and there, nothing too crazy, but it's still fun, right? And it's a good kind of fun, not like that anger fun.
Hell yeah. Honestly, some of the people out there, like I was watching something from Bob Dylan the other day, one of the great community members in the six scale world. And, he had like rolled up the shorts on his She-Hulk and rolled up the sleeves and everything just to make it look a little bit more comic inspired. And just by doing that, it just changed the game for that figure for me. I was like, oh my god, like it looks so good. It's so much closer to what it should look like in the comics, and such a small change. And then I've seen some people like strip their whole like outfit off their Mando bodies and cut the padding to reduce the fat, and like, oh, I'm like, that's too much for me. I'm always worried I'm going to destroy it. So, but X, what about you, good sir? Have you ever customized any of your figures? Do you have a favorite in mind when you think about it?
Ooh, I mean, I've never really customized to any great extent because I've never had a figure in my collection that I felt either A, needed significant improvement, or was just so egregious that I'm like, I need to fix this. And
No,
before I go and start taking off clothes and cutting off fat suits and things like that, that's something I would put in the hands of a professional, just given the fact that these figures, cost a pretty penny, and I don't quite have the skill set to do it just yet. So outside of custom capes, now I have commissioned custom figures, and there's one that's on the way in February that I'm very excited about. That's part of the Tim Burton Batman universe. A character that never quite made it to screen in the way that we would have hoped. A Billy D. Williams, Harvey Dent
Hell yes.
figure.
Hell yes.
Yes, it's
Very
based on the
nice.
Batman '89 comic. If you haven't read the Batman '89 comic that recently came out, it was basically like, this is what the third Tim Burton movie would have been if Billy D. Williams had become Two-Face. And so I feel like that was egregious that he didn't get his chance to become Two-Face on screen, but was featured in the comic, and so had a 1/6 scale figure commissioned, and I'm looking forward to getting that. So yeah, I leave it to the professionals when it comes to customization. I used to customize Black Series, Star Wars: The Black Series, back when I used to collect Star Wars: The Black Series. The vehicles, the figures, I had no problem customizing those. But when it comes to 1/6 scale, I usually leave that to the professionals when it comes to making any drastic adjustments to anything that expensive.
Billy D. Williams Two-Face is such a great deep cut character that if you know, when you see that in the collection, it's going to be like, oh, hell yes, dude. That's awesome. And what's interesting, while you were telling me that, X, I was thinking about a friend of the channel, the Jedi Knights Watch, and then he popped up in the chat. So shout out to Jedi Knights Watch. I was watching his video today, or listening to it while I was working at the home show this morning, and he was talking about how he'd love a Bob the Goon figure, whether that was
I would-
official brand or custom. And I was like, dude, yeah, 100%. They need a Bob the Goon.
I would absolutely have a Bob the Goon figure. Absolutely. And every time I look at it, I think Bob Gun. And if you know, you know.
You know. Dave, X-Men Supreme, good sir. What about you? Any figures that you've customized, or if not, has there been any figures in your collection that you're like, oh man, I hate the way this part of it looks. I'd love to change that.
I have done the lightest of customization, and not even on like a licensed figure. Like I did order the Present Toys Peacemaker sculpt. I haven't used it yet because I really like the pose that I have him in with Wonder Woman right now, and it looks really great. I do have like they got this whole set from So for him with another sculpt and like his shield, which I really, really want, and some other weapons. But what I actually did was there's this little third-party joint that I don't hardly hear about called War Story, and they made a Harley Quinn. They called it the Clown Queen, and it's basically, you know, the first Margot Robbie Harley Quinn. It's that version of Harley. And I got that, and the hands for that figure were not near swagalicious enough for me. So I went on eBay and I found the hands for Harley from the Birds of Prey figure. She's got all the rings. So I put those on her, and it's cool. But that's all I've done. I've thought about doing a little bit with like maybe the Batman to get that cape to do more stuff, or the 89. Basically a Batman figure, because they all need help with the capes. But other than that, not really a whole lot, no.
With the exception maybe of that new Armory figure, Dave, that I've seen. I think I was watching Dean Knight's video on his Armory setup, and that Batman actually does look like it comes with a pretty decent cape for once. So
That's
I don't have
true.
it in hand yet, but it didn't.
That's
look
true. He did.
bad.
He did have good things to say, and if we all know if Dean Knight has good things to say about it, then it's good, because that man will trash the best stuff. I mean, his standards are high. So if he says it's good, then yeah, I believe him. I would absolutely believe him.
Expensive, dude. These things are expensive.
Oh
They're
yeah,
not getting any
100%.
cheaper.
100%.
We're going to talk about price conditioning today when we look at that. I keep calling them Flamer Man, but you know, of course, what's his name is Human Torch. Just how that price has increased and how we're seeing things over $300, and it's like, ooh, okay, if we're going to get into these price points, we do have to expect more, and so that's a little teaser for later. But Classy, short and sweet, good sir, has there been anything that you have customized in your life, or any figure that you've looked at and been like, oh, every time I look at that I want to change this?
Yeah, I've actually done a fair amount of customization. I've got a lot of figures sitting there waiting for their chance to be customized, or for me to kind of be able to devote some attention. I have some that I've completed, but I just haven't put them in the thing. For example, most of them are X-Men. Supreme, you probably are familiar with Gwen McGuire, right?
Oh yeah, Kid Omega.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did a version of his first appearance where he's wearing that sweater vest and it had the whip and the thing. It was with his crew. So I actually have that version that I did a version of. I found a head that I really liked, and I found a body that seemed to be appropriate for his size and age, and basically just kind of kit bashed everything all together. And then I also did I had a kit for Emma Frost, and she's actually in the cabinet. It looks great. And I've got a Dark Phoenix that I did, and I have a Storm that has been sitting there waiting for her makeover. She's done except for the fact that I haven't done her face or given her mohawk hair. I've already got the wool, and am ready to make her hair. But like I said, she's kind of been sitting in my light box. So, kind of happened around the time when I first started getting sick. So I was taking photos, and but then I had to leave her to the white box. But I am hoping to get back to her very soon, because I gotta have a storm. I've gotta have the punk storm. I mean,
Hell yeah, dude.
yeah, I gotta have her.
Oh yeah, well said, well said. And just again, if anybody's just freshly joining us, Klaus is just freshly out of the hospital, pneumonia and COVID, so he's a little quieter than normal. He's not whispering because of anticipation or excitement. He's just trying to force it out. So bear with us because he's one of our favorites. So thanks for being here, buddy. That's awesome. Storm is one hell of a character. So, and I'm sure we'll see some more. Like an actual figure of it at some point, I'm sure, as we start to progressively see X-Men.
Dude, what if?
MCU. Or what if? Yeah, true, right?
Dude, if they make that,
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah. Cool. Guys, I feel effectively warmed up. Let's jump into some entertainment news, because then we've got lots of 6-scale news to talk about. Right after we talk some entertainment news, I'm going to say hi to everybody who is in the chat as well. So thanks for being here, guys. Let's quickly talk about this. So Ahsoka Season 2 recasts Baylan Skoll with the Game of Thrones actor from, you might recognize him as the Hound in that show, following Ray Stevenson's death. Now, this is interesting, I thought, because, after Ray unfortunately passed away, they really left his character arc kind of open-ended. Like, he was clearly going on a journey, and we were going to kind of find out where that journey was going to take him. And they definitely did not close that storyline, and then he passed away. So it was kind of along the lines of even a Chadwick Boseman, in the sense of, do we recast him? Is that respectful? He's got more story to tell, but should we do something different? And in terms of 6-scale, we did see a Ray Stevenson figure very recently come out for folks, and most people seem to like that figure from what I can tell. I had some notes on him, but at the end of the day, it was pretty good, and it represented the character well. And the actor who plays the Hound, I apologize, don't have his name in front of me, if anybody knows it offhand. He was awesome in that role, and actually, not that one actor has to look like another necessarily, because makeup does a lot of amazing things, but I can definitely see him having a very similar kind of aura and presence and look. So I actually think that this is a pretty solid casting. Now, I guess the question I would have for the panel and even for the chat is, Ahsoka wasn't super well received. I think a lot of people didn't totally love the show, and so I honestly thought they might just shut the show down entirely and just kind of move on to the next Star Wars story. But if this person's recast, then that must mean that we're going to be seeing an Ahsoka Season 2 at the very least, one would think. And if so, are you happy with the casting? And would you pick up another figure if they then make this actor's likeness of the character? So I'll give you my quick thoughts. I liked Ahsoka, but I didn't like it enough to collect. I liked Baylan and I liked Shin. They were my two favorite characters, even though the show was called Ahsoka. So I didn't collect any of that line, even though in my opinion it was still one of the best lines so far that Star Wars has had in terms of likenesses, especially that Hera figure. Like, she looks really amazing, and Sabine and like a couple of those others. So really good figures, not one that I would collect, but I will watch the show, and I think that this casting is at least appropriate, and hopefully pays some respect to Ray Stevenson. Mysterio, I'll go to you first, buddy. What are your thoughts on this casting, and is this something that you would collect from if this show continues?
For me personally, at this moment, no. For me to actually buy the figure, there has to be some sort of attachment, like a personal attachment to that character.
Totally.
Don't get me wrong, the show's really good. The characters are pretty good as well, and the figures in that lineup are all really, really good, but I don't have that connection quite yet. So maybe in the future, if I get more attached to those characters, maybe perhaps I'll pick up a figure or two. But at this moment in time, I don't think so. But hey, if that's something that you guys want to pick up, I mean, the figures do look amazing. So all the power to you. But uh, for the recast, I'm not opposed to recast as long as it's done correctly and if it's like justified. I know there's a lot of celebrities who've been passing away recently, like a lot of good ones, such as like Chadwick was a big one. Um, it's hard to recast, especially when again the fandom is attached to that specific actor. So, in regards to Balin and Ray, I know Ray as Punisher. Right?
Yeah, dude. Same.
That's
Punisher
that's
Warzone.
that's how I know him, right? So,
Hell yeah.
and he does great in everything that he does. I'm just hoping that the new person who is recasted, does fill those big shoes that Ray has left, right? And that's all that I can hope for at this moment. And those are my thoughts. Yeah.
It's interesting how much younger he looks in that Punisher film, Warzone. I loved it. It was super violent. I still even really liked the Thomas Jane Punisher film. That was like a kind of a guilty pleasure film for me, just watching that one with John Travolta in there and everything. But yeah, I mean, you know what, Ray Stevenson, awesome actor. Was sad to see him go, especially because his storyline in the TV show Ahsoka was one of the storylines that I was eager to kind of figure out, like, what the hell is going on? Like, what is his motivation here? With the orange lightsabers and everything, and with his apprentice, right? Shin at his side. So interesting to see this recasting. X, I'll go to you next here as well. What are your thoughts on recasting actors who have passed away? Do you think that that's respectful? Do you think they should have shifted maybe into a different story? And if so, is this the right guy? Do you think this makes sense for the character?
Oh, I mean, I absolutely think that depending on how the story is handled, depending on how the character is handled, it's perfectly fine to recast a character if the actor has passed away. It's far more respectful to recast a character than it is to try to CG the dead actor's face onto a new actor. And
Agreed. 100%.
I hope we don't start seeing that going forward in more and more TV shows and films. But I mean, and it can be done. It can be done well. I mean, if you look at the Fast and the Furious films, I know that they, actually the way that they handled one of the characters passing, exactly, and using his brother as a stand-in, and then so I did think that was actually a respectful way to give that particular character and actor a good send-off. But I would much rather them recast a character with a different actor if they can. And with the actor that they chose here, I mean, we know this actor can do good work. And what Ray Stevenson set up, the character that he set up, yes, I want to see more of his character. His story was not by no means was it resolved. And he had one of the more interesting. He was one of the more interesting characters. He was a mystery. He remains a mystery. And I do believe that fleshing that character out more in season 2 is something that a lot of fans of the show, really, would appreciate. I liked the show. The only problem I have with most Star Wars Disney shows is that I can't help but wish that they were films.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'm watching right now. I'm watching Skeleton Crew. I love Skeleton Crew, but I'm like, this would be an amazing film if you cut this down and made it into a succinct. Exactly. Yeah. So that's my big issue with Star Wars television. But no, I'm excited about the actor that they chose. I'm excited that we're going to know more about this character. I'm deeply saddened, of course, that Ray Stevenson didn't get to finish what he started, but the fact that that they were able to immortalize his character in 1/6 scale, because he did, for what he did on screen, he did a great job, and it's sad to see him leave us.
It's especially, and I could be speaking out of turn because I'm not familiar with every piece of work Ray ever did. There's a few standouts for me, again, like Punisher, but I would say that this is probably the role he would have had the most positive feedback on.
Absolutely.
Because he just had such a great impact in the show, and everybody was willing to be like, man, like I really like this character. Like, where's this going to go? And I would have loved for him to see that that positive community reaction to his character that he brought to life here, right? So, I think as long, again, if they do it respectfully, I think it's cool that we're going to get a chance to see what kind of happens with that character, and they can grizzle him up a little bit, right? Maybe the next leg of his journey is just devastating for the character, in which he does look a little bit different through the trials and tribulations of that. X-Men Supreme here on the panel, of course, and in the chat wrote, Maggie Gyllenhaal could make a great Balin because she looks just like him, which I thought was amazing. That's a recast that I honestly really never loved. I love the Dark Knight movies. They're one of my favorite trilogy, if not my favorite trilogy of all time. But I didn't really ever love Maggie Gyllenhaal. Maybe that's a hot take. I don't know. But X-Men, I'll go to you last here, and then Classy, I'm going to get you on the next one. Okay, buddy? What are your thoughts here, Dave, on the recasting? And do you think it's respectful to recast, or should they move away from characters if people pass?
I think it's a situational kind of thing. In this case, because I'm not familiar with this actor. I never watched Game of Thrones. I never got into that. But
how dare you? You're off the panel.
I was getting laid. Okay, this is what was happening.
That's a good reason. That's a lot of sex, though.
Shame.
It's a really long episode.
Shame.
Nah, but I really was. But I was listening to someone talk about this guy and how they actually knew each other pretty well. And that really makes me feel good about it, because here we have somebody who, not only by, what I've heard, is a good actor. A lot of people that I've heard talk about him have a lot of faith in his ability to portray Balin Skull. But also, knowing that he was close with Ray Stevenson, that makes it even better, because, the people you spend your time with, you kind of meld a little bit with those people, So I can't imagine anyone better than someone who knew the man himself to bring what he might have brought to the character going forward. I think that's a really good call to cast him. And yeah, absolutely. His story arc is arguably the most important in the show. Like, anyone who's watched, Clone Wars and saw the Mortis arc, y'all know what's about to go down. So hopefully they bring that, they do that justice. But I'm very interested to see what happens with him. Very interested to see Balin Skull travel down his road. And I'm interested to see, what he brings to it. I think it's going to be a really good turn. I'm really excited for it. I thought the show was great. I think it had its missteps. Absolutely. And I don't think any of that was due to any of the actors. I think they all did a pretty good job. I think, the writing could be helped.
For sure.
I think as long as they buck that up, then I think it'll be good all around. So yeah, I think this is a good call. I'm really looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys mentioned also, like, you wish that Disney could turn some of these into movies, and I agree with that. I watched the Kenobi fan cut made film that they did, and that was amazing. Like, they did a great job on that and really tightened up the story and turned what was like an okay show for me into something that I actually really, really enjoyed the content of. So kind of interesting that can be the case. And, I still remember the days, and I'm sure all of us on this panel do remember the days of, 25 episode television shows. So now when a show comes out and it's like 6 to 8, sometimes 6 to 10 episodes, it's like, really? Like, that's it? How are you going to even tell a whole story in, 39-minute episodes, 6 at a time? And then you have to wait sometimes like 2 years before the next season comes out. Like, if they're going to do 6 to 10 episode TV shows, it should be yearly, just like it used to be back in the day when they could do 25 episodes. Like, I don't understand why there's so much time in between, but maybe that's just me. I know
they'll also even split the season, or they'll split the story into 2 seasons.
Right.
I mean, who's watched
like Squid Game, like Squid Game,
Squid
right?
Games? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just like that. Yeah. No spoilers, but that last episode, you're just kind of like,
yeah, it's like, wow, yeah. And how long do we have to wait now? I think hopefully that's only a couple months. I think it is supposed to be, but yeah, away she goes, guys. Let us know in the chat, what are your thoughts on, recasting somebody who's passed away? Do you feel like that is in good taste? Does it depend on the situation? And what are your thoughts here on Ray Stevenson's recasting with this actor here, because I think Rory McCann knows how to wield a sword, so why not wield a lightsaber? Got to be similar in size, presence to Ray, and so otherwise, acting chops are for it. I'm all for it. I'm excited to see what he does here. But let's move on, because we've got one more entertainment news topic that I do want to discuss before we get into the 6 scale news segment. This has popped up this week. Now, this is not an official confirmation, but Josh Brolin recently reposted and retweeted and all of the things that you can do now with, if you put "re" at the front, an image of Darkseid in his social media. And it's kind of exploded because, of course, we know Josh Brolin from the Goonies. We also know him from Thanos, right? Marvel Cinematic Universe, the big purple dude with the ball Sackian chin, or the nut chin, I guess, to keep it show appropriate. And I saw this pop up and I'm like, interesting. I wonder if this is something people would like to see as a casting, because again, it's not official. Or are we against this? Is this a little too on the nose? He's already played a big bad of the MCU. Does making him the big bad of the DCU make sense? Or there's thousands of other actors that exist in the world. Is he the only guy that could play this level or kind of size of character? In terms of size, I don't just mean physical size. I mean that presence that he brings to the role as well. So, Classy, I'll go to you first, buddy, and then I'll give my take at the end here. I know you are a Thanos fan. What are your thoughts on the possibility of Josh Brolin trying to take on a role like Darkseid?
Well, I think he has the presence that he could do it. So I don't have any doubt that he could do the job. But like you said, there's so many other actors out there. Why not give someone else a chance? I'm conflicted. I don't think that he should be excluded just because he played Thanos. But there are just so many other actors out there that could probably do as good a job with Darkseid as he could. So, I don't know. I don't know that I would be that interested in seeing him. However, if I did see him in the role and he did a good job, I have to say, well, he did a good job. I guess I was wrong. But I think they should let other people have an opportunity to do their inner baddie.
To be a big bad. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Well said, Classy. Well said. I think because I'm kind of in the same camp there. When I think about Josh Brolin, I definitely think about his voice. He's got a very, very powerful voice. And I've seen, some fan castings and some rumored, idea castings of people like Dwayne Johnson's The Rock. I'm like, no, I don't want to see Rock in this role just because he's got big muscles. That doesn't need to be a requirement. Josh Brolin is a pretty jacked dude, but he's not a very big guy. That's all CGI for the most part. So you can put anybody who has some presence and behind his voice and some acting chops, I think, in the role of Darkseid, and it doesn't have to be him, and it definitely doesn't have to be somebody like Dwayne Johnson. But X-Men, I'll go to you next, buddy. What are your thoughts on Josh Brolin retweeting this? Is this an indication that maybe there's some negotiations here, or is he just thinking this is cool artwork that he wanted to post, just like the rest of us do in the world, and everybody is just jumping to conclusions? What are your thoughts?
It's a tale as old as time, What is Darkseid if not DC's Thanos, and vice versa?
Yeah.
There's so much borrowing from one another between the comic brands. We see it all the time. Deadpool is more or less a straight rip from Deathstroke.
Mm-hmm.
It's that doesn't mean that Ryan Reynolds could be Deathstroke, but I think that Josh Brolin would be a fantastic pick for Darkseid. He could do it. He's got the chops for it. We've seen him in the role of Thanos, and it's not a terribly dissimilar role. If they were to choose someone else, one thought that comes to mind immediately for me is Clancy Brown.
Oh, yeah.
I think he would be fantastic as well. And he's not unversed in the comic realm either, being that he's played such prominent roles. Like he was just in the Penguin, and he was great as a mob boss. But he's been other characters throughout animated series too, lending his voice. He could absolutely pull this off too. But I think it would be great to see Josh Brolin. I mean, he's played great characters already. He was Cable. Cable was great. Not as big as he should be, but hey, whatever. Cable's too small. Wolverine's too. What are we doing over here? But I think he would be fantastic. The Rock. I was going to joke about that, but yeah, that would be. Let's watch The Rock be The Rock in another movie, But I think if they do Josh Brolin, I would love it. But I think anyone they pick, because it's James Gunn. I have all the faith in James Gunn's ability to handle the situation. I don't think it's going to be disappointing no matter what they do.
I think James Gunn would actually get kind of ripped on a little bit if they chose Josh Brolin, because like you guys said, he's already kind of a rip from Thanos anyways, or vice versa. Like you said, they kind of rip from each other a little bit when it's Marvel versus DC. And I think James Gunn is going to have his own vision of what this universe looks like anyways. I do have lots of hopes and optimism for James Gunn's universe. I will be sad if I'm wrong and extremely happy if I'm right. I don't think he'll do it, but I could definitely be wrong. X, I'm curious from you, obviously Marvel Universe is going back to the well a little bit and bringing, RDJ back as Doctor Doom, even though he died. And, thinking about somebody like a Thanos style character as Josh Brolin again, is that kind of a going back to the well thing too much, even though it's a different company? Or do you think it would actually inspire some excitement for a character like Darkseid, because people know, oh, he was awesome as Thanos, so there's no way he's not going to be awesome as Darkseid? What are your thoughts there, buddy?
I think it's a way of bringing, if Josh Brolin were to play Darkseid, I think it would be a way of bringing the best possible baggage you could from Marvel with you to DC. And I have nothing against Josh Brolin being Darkseid. I thought he did a fantastic job as Thanos. He managed to make it a character that was, very three-dimensional, that for the most part, a lot of people were shaking their head going, well, he's got a point here. He's got, he's not pure evil. He's not this, but also a character that was absolutely terrifying. So he brought a lot to that character. Could he do the same thing with Darkseid? Yes. Do I think it's going to happen? Not necessarily, because this is James Gunn's chance to really put his stamp on what DC is. Going forward, at least for the foreseeable future. And so for him to bring Josh Brolin is a great actor, but I do believe that in order to make this character more, because if you go into this knowing that Josh Brolin is Darkseid, everyone's going to be listening for it, and and if you hear it, then you're going to think Thanos. You need a new actor. You need, for instance, X-Men said Clancy Brown. You need a new actor in there, a new voice in there, someone with the gravitas, with a booming voice that they can actually pull off this character. And that actor is out there. They just need to find out who it is. I don't think it should be Josh Brolin necessarily. I'm perfectly fine with Josh Brolin being a fantastic Thanos, leaving it at that, and let's let someone else tackle Darkseid.
Well said. I was thinking about folks that we've lost in the past little while here, and like Tony Todd is somebody who comes to mind, because who doesn't love Tony Todd? Whether you're a Star Trek fan or you're a horror movie fan, Candyman, of course. Even a Venom, right? He was Venom in the Marvel Spider-Man 2 game, and he made a great Venom voice. I think somebody like a Tony Todd could have been an amazing voice behind a Darkseid. And again, this is all assuming that we even get a Darkseid character in DC Universe. I'm sure we will eventually, but that's not to say it's going to be anytime soon. And Mysterio, I'd be curious from you, buddy, because Josh Brolin at one point was also rumored to be part of the Green Lantern Corps in the DC universe. And now we've seen a bunch of other Green Lantern castings so far. And so we're like, well, maybe not, but I could also still see him in there. It seems like Earth has a lot of Green Lanterns to select from. So not to say that he won't end up being in there as well. What are your thoughts on him being a potential option for Darkseid, or would you rather see him get a different role in DC, or not at all? Are you done with him in comic book films?
If Brolin could transform, where it's not, hey, it's Brolin on screen, I'm all for it. Not too long ago, I watched a movie called Nosferatu. I'm not sure if any of you guys seen that one, but the Warlock was Bill Skarsgård, and when you see what Bill has done previously to being the Warlock, there's in your mind you're thinking there's no freaking way this is the same guy. There's no way, right? So if Brolin and let's say James Gunn and the whole entire team could somehow divorce Brolin from Thanos and have him be Darkseid in his own like unique and special way, I'm all for it, right? 100%. Like we've seen this happen many times where people have been casted for similar parts or same similar characters. Like let's say like Lobo, right, was casted, right? Jason Momoa, right? He was Aquaman, but from all of Jason Momoa's movies, he always plays kind of like Jason Momoa. It's kind of like The Rock. He always plays The Rock in all the movies. So I just hope he doesn't fall. If he was to become Darkseid, I hope he doesn't fall into that kind of category. Typecasting himself and just playing the same person. Yeah. True. So as long as he could transform and put that skill that he already does have and emphasize and make it even more, then by all means do Darkseid. Right.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, the ability to transform, I think, is the key takeaway from your point there, because that's 100% the case. Some actors have it, and other folks just don't seem to. I do think The Rock or Dwayne Johnson is one of the worst offenders of that. I can't unsee that guy in virtually any role that he. The only one that I thought he actually did a really good, amazing job of transforming as himself a little bit is actually in the Jumanji film, where he plays like the young girl on the inside. I thought that was a very good like divergence away from who his character was, but that's
like even like another good example of that is Colin Farrell for the Penguin. Like the guy won an Oscar, right? And if you watch that whole Penguin series, Colin Farrell vanishes from himself, and he becomes
all the makeup and prosthetics too.
Yeah, and so with Darkseid, you have prosthetics and you also have CGI, so you could transform him through his appearance, but when it comes to his actual performance, that's where there's a fine line that he needs to really show what he's capable of and what he brings different to the table.
Hell yeah. Well said, guys. I want to move on because there's lots of 6 scale news to start with here, but all great thoughts here. Let me know if you guys are watching on the replay. What are your thoughts on James Brolin's Darkseid? Is it a yes? Is it a no? Is it a needs to be transformative role? If you hear his voice in that character, are you only going to be able to think about Thanos? Let me know you guys' thoughts in the comments down below, of course. Now, we have just about 60 people watching live still. Thank you guys so much for getting nuts with us here on a Sunday, of course. I do want to say hi to the chat, but I do want to do a quick couple of housekeeping things. Right now, we do have our channel membership. These are our membership badges as of currently. Most of you guys are getting into that Live Long and Nut or Bub Nut section, which is exciting to see. I haven't seen anybody as the Terminator yet. And once we get past the Terminator, we're going to have to get another nut design from our boy Dean the Dream Martin. So stay tuned for that. If you guys are interested as well, these are some of the chat emojis that you can put in if you are a channel member with us. So don't forget to hit the nut button. Don't forget to, of course, throw in that nut buster there as well occasionally, especially if it's a really good take from X today, because I'm sure he's going to have a couple as we go along, or Classy Thomas, of course, you love to see it. But also, guys, we have a big list of channel members, and I'm going to read off everybody's name, as I always do at the end of the show today. But I did want to give a quick shout out to Tijuana Mike, aka King Churro, who did become a channel member of the Tough Nut crew a couple days after the last show, but it wasn't live, so I wasn't able to shout him out at that point. So thanks for becoming a member, good sir. Happy to have you here with us, of course. But as always, let's say hello to the chat.
Is that everyone? I can want it more.
Nuts!
Assemble.
I was told by my girlfriend the other day that that's the most cringy video that I show on my entire channel. And I was like, excellent. It is doing its job well then. You'll love to see it. We got Clue in the house with some ... Hopefully that just meant that you were excited and waiting in the show here. We got Jagron too, which of course now I know is Lane the Kramer out there. I don't know why you made it so confusing for everybody, Lane, but I'm so happy to have you in the show watching. It's always good, sir. We got one of our great channel members, Trevor Weed, in the chat as well. Live long and prosper, good sir. Good to see you here. We got Valkyrie Magnus in the chat with us. Hey, Ben Thomas panel and friends. Love to see it. And he's adding in all of those emojis. You'll love to see it there. We got X-Men Supreme with us on the panel as well as in the chat as well. X-Men will be back on the show here in just a couple of minutes. We got 1/6 Sith in the chat, and he's laughing right now because I said last week when he was on the show that that's really hard for me to say for some reason without either spitting on my computer or lisping like crazy. So good to see you here, buddy. Good evening, everyone, he says. We got King Ding-a-ling in the chat with us as well. Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for being here, of course. We got Pop Culture Relics in the chat with us. What's up, everyone? Just a reminder, Luis here, Pop Culture Relics, is going to be getting that J&D Joker in hand. Actually getting it in hand. And when he gets it, he's going to come on the Ben Thomas show here and tell us about it, but he's also likely going to do a review video. So he has his own YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that, because I don't think there's going to be very many reviews of that figure popping up, to be honest. We got SG Collectibles in the chat with us as well. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for being here. Tijuana Mike, aka King Churro, newest channel member. You love to see it here. And by the way, guys, I'll put the link for channel membership in the chat here in just a minute. We got one of our greatest members of all time, of course. We got 12-inch Moose Dream in the chat with us. Says, hello, community of collectors. I'm working on a Costa case right now. Pics out there in social media. Yes, Costa, Pop Culture, Pop Culture Alex? No, Pop Culture Living Room. Oh my God, there's so many. Great guy over there, though, of course. And definitely one of the greatest community members, because he told people how to build these shelves for basically for free. Yeah, so that's awesome. Thanks for doing that, buddy. We got SG Collectibles in the chat. It says, Mr. Nuts Ben, it's Sunday. Love to see it. We got Press X to continue here in the chat with us as well as in the stream. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for being here as always, of course. Let's just see here. I want to make sure I don't miss anybody today. We got our British correspondent from across the seas, Peter Cass, in the chat with us. He says, awesome to see you back on our screens, Thomas. Love you, man. You too, buddy. Good to see you here. And I've heard that you're able to get 1/6 Sith in your upcoming OFAC stream. So make sure you tune into Collecting Weekly and OFAC for that British stream, which is very funny. They swear a lot. So no small children in the room, but it's always a good time. Ryan Dean here in the chat with us. He says, what's good, Ben? Panel and chat. Stoked to spend another nutty Sunday with you all. Good to see you here, my friend. Thanks for being here as always. Of course, we got Brad Koski in the chat. I'm proud of my 22 Inart sculpted. And I'm loving it. Honestly, I've got the 22 Inart sculpted as well, and it's an awesome figure. The belt was a bit of a pain in the ass, but I do enjoy it. We got the Jedi Knights Watch here in the chat. Make sure you subscribe to the Jedi Knights Watch. He was one of the YouTubers that I would watch before I ever even dreamed about being on YouTube and doing all of this for you guys. So an amazing channel to watch and an amazing dude. Big friend of the channel, of course. Let's see here. We got Astro Hilfiger. I love that. We shout out to Jay Mysterio. You got a fan in the chat there, buddy. Good to see it.
Hey, thanks, buddy.
We got Liberty Custom says, why the fuck is he whispering? You hate to see it. I've explained why he's whispering. He's just really dramatic, honestly. I think that's the thing. So he really wants you to listen to everything he says. We got Lokoloo in the chat with a what's poppin', people. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for being here. Thanks for also not copyright claiming me for using your slogan every time I see you. I appreciate you, good sir. We got Figure in a Bubble in the chat with us as well. Hello, good to see you, and thanks for bearing with me, guys, while I say hi to everybody. We got Clinton Martin in the chat. Howdy, folks. Good to see you, buddy, as well, of course. I think that's almost everybody. Let me just do a quick scroll. Thanks for bearing with me, guys. We got Low Key Collector in the chat with us. Good to see you, Calvin. Says, sup, fellas. Happy to see Sir Classy Thomas back on the screen. And we will be seeing Calvin here soon, I'm sure. He almost was able to get on the last show. We'll poke him for one of these upcoming streams, of course, as well. Clinton Martin, I think I said hi, but just in case I missed you. We got Mike Latoris in the chat, of course, with those knees. You love to see it. Now people actually have that figure in hand. You love to see it. Actually, Eddie Money Mendez sent me a picture yesterday of this figure, but with the old Bruce Wayne head sculpt on it from the modern suit. It actually looked really good. Like, it looked really good. So I don't know if you guys have seen that circulating around Facebook, but definitely keep an eye out for it. We got Sam Gist in the chat with us as well. Hey, yo, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for being here. I think that's almost everybody. Let's just double check. Oh, we got Dirk Diggler's stunt double with a massive kickstand. You love to see it. Ron Perlman would be good. Good to see you here, buddy. L Walker in the chat with us as well. Good to see you, my friend, for sure. I think that's almost everybody. I love seeing how many people are in here. I'm going to have an own segment at some point for this. We got Blurred Dad Life in the chat with us, one of our channel members, and of course Summer Fam as well with a hey everybody. And last, of course, but not least here, we got JB in the chat. Classy T giving Bale a run for his money. Great to see you, buddy. I ain't wearing hockey pads. I think along those lines, at least. Classy, you can probably do it better than me, buddy. We got Thor Gaming as well, my brother here in the chat. Okay, that's it. We can move to 6 Scale News. Thanks for being here, everybody. I'm going to post a link to the membership here in just a moment if you guys are interested. But this is what I want to talk about real quick first. Of course, we're looking at the Jazzinc Penguin rendering photos here for the most part of his upcoming figure announcement. And, you know, this was an interesting one. He says, all right, here are the 4 head sculpts from Jazzinc Dioramas Batman Returns Penguin broken down. There will be a mayor version, a sewer version. The basic head sculpt will be included in both basic and DX version. This is the most neutral and usable, and so no paywall to get that. And the DX versions for the mayor and the sewer will have a respective extra head sculpt as well as accessories. So then, of course, the 2-pack you will get everything. Now, I've got the Jazzinc Diorama Battle Damaged single pack Catwoman coming. I just couldn't justify having 2 Catwomans in the display, even though I thought the clean was also a really nice looking. To be honest, I was kind of banking on maybe Hot Toys would give us a Catwoman at this point. Unfortunately, they haven't yet, so hate to be wrong on that one, but we'll see. But I'm curious if you guys are in on Jazzinc, both either maybe the Catwoman or on a potential Penguin announcement here. If a pre-order window goes up, is this something they'll be interested in getting, and what version? For me, I think it would be the mayor one that I'd like the most. Even though I'm doing the battle damage Catwoman, the green fluid that came out of his mouth back in the day always grossed me out as a kid, so I honestly don't think I'd want to display it that way, but I'd be happy to see it in other people's collections and see how cool it looks. X, I'm going to go to you first, buddy. Is this something that you were interested in seeing from Jazzinc, and would this be a buy? If it is, what version would you go with?
I mean, much like the 92 Catwoman, the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman, where we were waiting for someone to do it, for someone to tackle the character, and it seemed like no one would. And then Jazzinc came out of nowhere and dropped what I pre-ordered, which was the deluxe 2-pack. I went all in. I want the hero version. I want the end of the film version, just because it's a character that means a lot to me. It's a film that means a lot to me. It's one of my favorite films. It's one of my favorite characterizations of Catwoman. Michelle Pfeiffer, I thought she did an amazing job. And so to have it in figure form and to have that level of detail, that is something I simply couldn't, pass up. And so I was able to justify the cost. I really enjoyed Danny DeVito as the Penguin. Absolutely terrifying in the role. However, I don't have the same attachment to the point where I could get both the mayor version and the sewer version. And here's my thought process. So if I have the Gentleman of Crime, which is the third party Danny DeVito Penguin, and I was thrilled to have it because, again, why is no one giving us a Penguin yet? You would think this would have been something we would have received a long time ago. You would think that Hot Toys would have tackled it, and yet for whatever reason, it's just nowhere on their radar. Until, of course, someone else starts to dabble in it. Until Jazzinc starts to dabble in it, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, we have we have Batman too. Wait, here's
Yeah.
here's a 2.0 of the Keaton, and here's a Bat missile.
Yes, Batman. Yeah, exactly. Literally.
So it's like, okay, I'll take the 2.0 Batman from Batman Returns, the Bat missile. I'll think about it. So my plan is to get the Mayor version deluxe, and then to take the second head sculpt, the angry head sculpt, pop that on my Gentleman of Crime, and that will be my sewer look.
That's an awesome.
And that way I'll have both looks. Now, I may change my tune. If the diorama pieces that come with this are pieces I just can't pass up.
True.
But then again, I also need to see the price, because let's face it, dropping $1,000 for 2 Catwomen, that's one thing. Do I really need to drop another grand on 2 Danny DeVito Penguins? And the answer is no. But I do want to reserve judgment for that until I know exactly what the costs are going to be for this, because if they can somehow lower the price and still give us that level of quality, it's a smaller figure. You could say it's a smaller figure, it's going to be less money. It doesn't work like that. I know it doesn't work like that. But
this is why is he as tall? Does it equal smaller? I don't know.
Exactly. He's not as tall, so it's less figure, so it should cost less.
That's right.
Same thought process with the Bat missile, except it was not nearly the price.
It's 1/3 the vehicle,
Exactly. So you think it would be 1/3 the price? No, wrong. Nope. So with this, I am excited that they're doing this figure, and I know they're going to do it justice. I have the '89 Jazzinc Batmobile, so I can't wait to get the figures that they put out. If they manage to achieve the same level of detail and accuracy with the figures as they did with this vehicle, then I'm all in, in terms of their figures. But they've got to deliver on this. Otherwise, I don't see them doing minifigures after this if those figures don't live up to the expectations. And the expectations are high because no one's done it until now, and you decided to swing for the fences. So here's hoping it's a home run, because it's got to be. It's absolutely got to be.
With Hot Toys going back to the Batman Returns line recently, I'm shocked that we haven't seen at least even just, kind of one of those figure teases that they do where you see like an umbrella or like the top of a duck's head or something that's like, oh, they're coming, and just puts just that little seed of doubt in collectors' minds. So they're like, well, if I love Hot Toys, maybe I'll wait then, and maybe I won't order the Jazzinc, even when a lot of the time they do that and those figures never come to fruition anyways. Let's be honest. But Monsieur, I'd be curious from you, good sir. Jazzinc, have you ever considered a Jazzinc piece in your collection, or maybe you already have one on order? Because again, Catwoman is on the way, and they've got some great vehicles. With the announcement of these, some Penguins potentially on the way, is there one that interests you? And are you like X in the sense of, does it maybe need like a diorama display base or something along the lines of a duck or a Batmobile remote car or something along those lines that would add that like, yep, now I have to have it factor?
I would buy that.
Yeah, no, well, with Jazzinc, well, first of all, I'm super jelly of anyone who has a Jazzinc vehicle. All right, I've seen most of them in person. There's a big expo here in Calgary, the Calgary Entertainment Expo, where I saw a vendor who had all of the Jazzinc vehicles, but they were not on sale. And after inspecting them and looking at them, taking the time with them, it's a beautiful piece. So I'm super envious. If I had the space, don't get me wrong, I would have pretty much every Batmobile and a lot of things from Jazzinc. The thing that's really stopping me is that there's no actual figure released yet from Jazz. So, prototypes could always look really, really good. And I could probably speak on behalf of the community that a lot of us got burned from just promo shots, right? We've always seen those, promising promo shots, and then once we get the figure in hand, or even blogger photos, we're kind of like, was it worth the investment? Was it worth, putting the down payment on it? With Jazz, I'm hoping that it's going to be as good as he's showcasing it to actually be. But for me personally, I would wait and at least get that Catwoman release first, so I could really make a judgment call. I'm actually a little bit of a hypocrite because when it comes to Inart, I ordered the Heath Ledger Joker right away without any kind of hesitation. So I'm just hoping that it does turn out as good and the community is happy with the Penguin. But if I was to have the space and the interest and the budget, Price is Right, I would probably go for the Governor version. That's the one that's the most intriguing to me. Just you could display it with a lot of different kinds of options. If Jazz was to release separately, maybe a diorama, or include a diorama that's modular, maybe to have some different kinds of display options, then I'm all for it, right? I mean, right now, Hot Toys is experimenting with modular display bases, right? So if Jazz was to incorporate his genius already with vehicles and his other dioramas with his future pieces, then that's going to intrigue a very or not very, but a larger part of the community, right? But the price has to be right? Like with us being with Tom and I, or sorry, Ben and I being in Canada, the Canadian dollar is not that strong right now. So anything more that's like 300-400 is a big whammy, right? So
it'll be better for you once you become the 51st state.
Oh my God! Too soon, Thomas. Too soon.
Clancy
wasn't here for it, but I said no religion or politics on the show.
The first politic comment, eh?
Yeah.
Hey, I'll take Canada over Texas any day. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Love to see it. Love to see it. Dave, I'll go to you on the next one here. So, with regards to Penguin here, of course, does it need a duck vehicle in order to be something you'd consider for your collection? Are any of these versions that they're kind of being teased something that excites you, or do you feel like you have to wait for Catwoman to see how that one kind of comes out? In my opinion, if they don't nail that Catwoman figure, it's going to put some seeds of doubt in collectors' minds that Jazz can hit that 1/6 scale figure market as well as they have in the vehicles, because they're very different type of crafting, in my opinion, right? So what are your thoughts on a Penguin already being teased when we haven't even got Catwoman out?
Well, Mysterio hit it on the head. We didn't know anything about Inart's figures, and a lot of people jumped straight on that train without hesitation. A lot of people did have reservations as well, but for me, Jazzinc is to some degree a known quantity in this 6 scale game. Like, we already know the degree of care that Yost puts into everything that goes through his setup there. I know that they did one unlicensed figure a long time ago that when it was a little iffy, but after seeing what their guy who's doing the sculpts on the figure did with his own custom stuff, I got no concern at all. I jumped straight in on the deluxe 2-pack for Catwoman.
Nice.
Batman Returns is my favorite Batman movie, and yeah, we've wanted her for a long time, and I am not at all interested in waiting for Hot Toys to make a Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman, and I'm sure they will, because I don't want that just true type crappy body under that suit. I don't want it.
Yeah.
Even if it was the only one, I don't want it. I like how they're doing a seamless body underneath, and they're doing it, more tailored toward, Catwoman. Hot Toys could do that with a lot of characters that need it to be done, and they just don't. And that's my biggest complaint about Hot Toys. As great as they are, they should do that a couple of times at least for a couple of things. But as far as Penguin,
Harley Quinn,
dude, that I hate that figure so much.
Yeah.
I wanted to get that, but those knees were an absolute no-go for me. 100% no. That was awful. But I get why they did it. But no to those. Good God, those knees. Oh my gosh. But like a lot of other people, the mayor version of this Penguin is what really interests me the most. I want to have that scene on my shelf where he's sitting there talking smack to Batman, and then Catwoman shows up. That's just a great scene, man. Right before Shrek's department store blows up, that was such a great scene, and I want to recreate that. But yeah, I don't really have a need for the dirty long underwear, green blood face penguin. That's I never liked that. I get it, it's cool, but it's never. That's not a thing that I need. I don't need to get the 2-pack. Yeah, I don't need the 2-pack on this one, but I might go deluxe. I could use either sculpt that they're talking about for that, for my purposes. So depending on what they have with the basic, that might be good enough. I don't know. We'll just have to see what comes up. But I'm definitely interested in having this guy. Absolutely. And I would like to have that little quarter machine Batmobile. I would love to have. If somebody wants to custom make that, if they don't do it, man, you're
doing that.
Somebody's missing a trick if they don't do that.
Definitely, especially the folks out there who buy all the Batmobile variants. Like, is that one you'd have to have? Like, I feel like almost, right? So, he needs to come with like a little chunk of ear as well, at least in that kind of snarling sculpt that he's got, because the poor bastard in the mayor's office, he hate to see it, honestly.
Oh, when he bit his nose.
His nose, not his ear. Yes. I'm thinking Mike Tyson.
My nose could be gushing blood.
Yeah, that's right. The nose, yes, not the ear.
Teach her my French flipper trick.
X-Man, you mentioned something really fascinating, actually, because we always say it's like, oh, Hot Toys does it. And that's the thing. There's no guarantee they're going to ever do this. When it comes to common sense and figuring out, trying to determine, Hot Toys, yes, it makes sense for them to do it. It doesn't mean that they're actually ever going to, any company is going to do it. So
22 Batmobile, anybody?
Right. It makes the things that we think in terms of anniversaries, in terms of, it's the 85th anniversary of Batman, surely we're going to get X, Y, or Z. Nope. Instead, we get, this thing that comes out of left field, which, hey, who doesn't like to be surprised? But to say, when they do their version of it, I don't know. I don't know if it's ever really a guarantee that they're going to get to the things that we want them to get to, which is why, in many cases, when a third party decides to tackle a figure, like Mars decides to tackle a figure, I'm like, I'm not going to hold out for the Hot Toys version of, Mars doing the 66 Batman anything, because there's no guarantee that Hot Toys is actually going to actually follow through on it. Or even
and Mars do good work.
And Mars does great work. Yes.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. I agree with everyone in the sense that I don't have any kind of loyalty to Hot Toys. I think that if they put out a great product, that I'd be happy to consider buying from them. But I think that I would be willing to probably go for the deluxe with both of them, because I don't know, there's something about both of those looks that I have a very difficult time trying to decide between. So I'm kind of like, well, if I'm starting to curate more in my collection, and there's a lot of things that when they're introduced, I'm probably not going to be as inclined to buy. So if that's the case, then the things I really want, like this Batman line, I can actually kind of dive in and really embrace it, because but a lot of it, I think, for me, is going to be what sort of diorama we get. He's got, if it's a sewer version, they gotta give me some of those penguins.
Yeah, 100%.
And if it's the mayor version, I would really love it if he did have a diorama of the carnival ride when he was, riding, when he was kind of running mayhem through the streets with the Batmobile. And if they could give me a diorama with something you could sit them down in and make it look like you're doing that scene as the mayor, I'd be all in.
That'd be wild. I'd even take like a mayor's podium you know, when he's making a speech to the community. Something that just like comes along with him that goes well with that mayor version, I think could be really like an easy win. Or honestly, even still, like even if it doesn't, that's something that's easy to kind of customize. And it's interesting because kind of sticking on the topic of Batman figures and, you know, even third party and how good some of those have been. You guys were mentioning that you've had good experiences with Mars so far and that they do make great products. I thought the slide was funny from Mars because they're like, what's coming next? And I was like, oh, interesting. And then I looked at all of them. I'm like, all of these have come out already, I think, from my recollection. So I guess the question is, what do you think is coming next based on this slide? Because these have been currently available or sold out now in many cases. That Bruce Wayne figure I thought was amazing. I really liked the Alfred figure there, the butler with the hamburger and, you know, all the food that guy comes with. That Romero Joker, I think it was 2023 now, if I'm not mistaken, at least on the Collecting Weekly Awards, you know, was up there as, you know, for folks as one of the best figures of the year, considering it was third party. And they've, of course, teased a Julie Newmar Catwoman and, you know, some other characters and stuff like that. Is there any figure that you really, truly hope comes from Mars Toys? One for me that isn't actually here, but they've kind of subtly teased, and I want to call it pseudo-announced, has been the Two-Face. The Harvey Two-Face, of course, from the Batman Forever film. I've already got the Riddler figure behind me with Batman and Robin. I love the accessories that guy came with, and to me, he needs that Harvey Dent or that Two-Face version from Tommy Lee Jones to pair along with him. Is there any characters you guys would love to see Mars Toys tackle? And let me know in the chat, guys, as well. Engagement in the chat is really awesome and helpful. So if there's a figure that you guys are hoping Mars Toys brings out, let me know and I'll put it up on the screen for you guys. I didn't give you guys much prep on this. Jay, Mysterio, apologies. Is there any character that you would like to see Mars Toys tackle?
I think they should stay on the DC or Batman bandwagon.
Yep.
Recently, Hot Toys did announce the Clooney Batman, so I think they should start dipping into that, right? So at least that way they could kind of maybe ride that wave, get some more customers in, because everyone who gets a Clooney Batman will most likely want to pair that up with someone, whether it be Freeze, Ivy.
Great call. Ivy for
weird,
sure.
Weird, you know, Bane, right? The Hulk and Bane, Dum Bane, right? So I think that would be a good opportunity for Mars Toys to you know, ride that wave with Hot Toys and kind of piggyback on it. I think that would be a good choice, a good option for them.
Absolutely. Moose says wanting an Alfred 66 and a Catwoman 66. Absolutely. Give us a Liam Neeson Ra's al Ghul from Mars Toys, since Hot Toys just doesn't want to. Yeah, I would take that 100%. What about you, X? What do you think? Anything that you are kind of hoping to see from a Mars Toys that the other companies just don't seem to be getting their butts in gear on?
Well, in terms of Catwoman 66, I want Newmar and I want Eartha Kitt. The first company that does that gets my money. Now, switching gears back to 1989 Batman, if anyone's going to do a Bob the Goon, it's going to be Mars Toys that's going to do a Bob the Goon. And I absolutely love what they did with their other Jokers, their Mr. J figure especially, because I was able to create the artist Joker from that as well. So I've got pretty much every look he has in the film. What they're doing in terms of 66 and 89, they're killing it. And so a Bob the Goon, I think, would be, and even a regular version, a Jack Napier. So before he becomes Joker, Jack Nicholson, give us Jack Napier, you know, with the long overcoat and the black hat. Give us that as well. I'd buy it. Give us his
girlfriend with the creepy mask girlfriend. That
Alicia
always freaked me right out, man. Yeah.
Oh, that would be a deep cut, but you know what? If they made it, I would buy it.
Yeah, Vicky Vale, I could see them doing. Good call.
If they made it, I would buy it. I know there was talk of them dipping their toe into Jaws, giving us possibly a Quint, a Brody, Hooper. So giving us those three, I would buy those in an absolute heartbeat. And a Val Kilmer, Bruce Wayne. You know, they teased that a hot minute ago. And so if they follow through on that, yeah, I would love to add a Val Kilmer, Bruce Wayne to the collection. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I have seen that. I feel like there has been some quality changes between the figures. Like, again, we talked about that Romero Joker, and it's one of the best figures I've ever seen. And then there's been a few others that I'm like, okay, it's good. Like the Biff Tannen, it was okay. You know who it's supposed to be, especially because of his outfit and all that. But like, I think it could have been a better figure. It could have been a better likeness, some better paint apps and stuff. So I hope that they continue on the trend of pretty amazing stuff, for obvious reasons. But like if they keep doing it, I think that they're going to stay really relevant within the 1/6 scale community, because especially with other third-party companies and official retailer options, there's so many people and so many companies making 6 scale now. You have to set yourself apart a little bit. Again, that Riddler or that Joker from Mars, that really set the stage for how good they can create these. So keep it up, for sure.
Well, Ben, you mentioned
Dave,
something interesting,
yes,
because
yeah.
there's so many companies making 6 scale figures, but they all seem to be making the same 6 scale figures.
Same 6 scale, yeah.
It's like now that we've gotten past the purple suited Joker phase, now are we on to the BVS, back on the BVS Superman train? Is that what we're back on? So they're all making the same figures, just trying to compare and see who can make a better Batman, a better Nolan Batman, or a better BVS Batman. They're all making the same thing. Mars is the only one that's branching out and giving us anything new.
Very true. And it's interesting you say that, because I and this is speculation, pure speculation. I could be completely wrong here, but I've always wondered if the reason that we see these licensed companies going after the same characters is because that's where, like, the licensor or licensee or whatever you call them, that's the ones that they're told to make, right? These are the typical cash cow figures, the cash cow characters. If you want our license, you need to prove that you can sell Batman. You need to prove you can sell X, Y, and Z character, and then maybe we'll give you some flexibility in what you can have later on down the road. Because I think that's where Mars Toys really helps collectors, is they can fill in the gaps a little bit, right? Who doesn't want an Uma Thurman Poison Ivy? Like, she was a wild character, but like she'd still be freaking awesome in 6 scale form, right? Or that Bane, like, again, like, what a wild character to have in a movie. So dumb, but also I like Bane and I would put him in my collection. Like, it's such a good gap filler. Not that we need gap fillers, because let's be honest, most of us are talking about how overstuffed we are lately. I'm trying to sell figures to make space for other figures, but I think that could be part of it. Is just that, like, those licensors say, like, you can't have our license unless you're willing to prove that you can sell these characters first. And I do wonder if that's part of it, but also setting that stage, right? If, an Inart, like we're going to talk about shortly, an Inart gets a Wonder Woman license and shows just how much better their Wonder Woman can be than the competition that's come before it, then the next time they put an announcement up, we're going to, as collectors, start to gravitate to what we think will be best before we even know what it'll look like as a final product. And so in a way, they're taking money out of our wallets before we even get there. So could also be a little bit of that as a strategy. But guys, I do want to speed us up a little bit, because we do have a little bit more to cover here in the show. We're still going to talk a little bit about the Limb Toys Nathan Drake. We're going to talk about Flame Boy there, of course, from Hot Toys, because I don't think that it's actually Chris Evans. We're also going to talk a little bit about those Inart slides, and if there's time, we're going to talk about our anticipated list for January releases. But yeah, let's go to the Limb Toys Nathan Drake. So for me, I will say one of my favorite video games of all time is actually Uncharted 2. Such a great game. The Uncharted series is amazing in itself. And Nathan Drake is a great character. I always thought a younger Nathan Fillion should have played Nathan Drake in live action. They to me always looked like virtually the same person. It sucks to me that, in my opinion, that Nathan Fillion's getting a little on the older side now, so maybe not as much anymore. I really didn't see Tom Holland as Nathan Drake. I thought that was a very weird casting for the Uncharted film that had come out. But I don't have much experience with Limb Toys, and so I didn't even try to put a pre-order on this one. And of course, now I'm kicking myself, because it does look really freaking cool. The accessories are fantastic. I love that they give you like a seamless forearm in there for the gun holding thing, so you could have his wrist sleeves rolled up. All of the accessories look pretty darn crispy, in my opinion. The head sculpt looks like a great representation of the character from the game itself. So I'd be curious from you guys, really quick, kind of on a round table basis here. Is this character something that you kind of wish that you got now that you've seen people talking about it this week and are excited to see what that final look is? Or maybe Uncharted isn't a game that you've played. Is there another video game character you hope to see made, especially if these guys are creating a bit of a name for themselves? So for me, I am sad that I missed Nathan Drake, but there are lots of other video games that I would love to see. I don't have a God of War yet in hand, so I'm hoping for a God of War that really truly hits it for me. But I'd like a younger version of Kratos, not necessarily the older version that we now have in PS5 version. What about you, Mysterio? What are your thoughts here on Nathan Drake or Uncharted? And if you don't have much thoughts here, is there another video game you'd love to see them tackle as a character?
Well, as a figure, it looks really, really good. I mean, they're thinking outside of the box with the no wrist pegs, the seamless wrists. It looks really, really good. When it comes to like the actual the video game, I'm not too familiar with the game or the character, so you can't really quote me on anything. But being the ignorant one outside of the box, looking into this figure, I think it looks pretty spot on. As a third party, I'd say it's like a solid 8-9 out of 10 from what I could see here. As for video game figures, I'd say a God of War, Gears of War is a good one.
Yeah,
Army of Two,
definitely.
Army of Two, I grew up with, and
that was wild with the mask,
Cell.
the face masks that they had. It was pretty wild.
I think it would be pretty easy to recreate. I know that it has a pretty strong a fan base, and I would say like Splinter Cell as well. That
one
would
of
be
my favorite video games of all time.
100%, yeah, Splinter Cell. So, it'd be pretty cool to see what the figure would actually look like, but in terms of like sales and how many people would actually get it, that's up in the air, really.
Absolutely. We got Brick Artemis, friend of the channel, in the chat here with us as well. It says, need a diecast Master Chief? Hell yes, good sir. That is a great option. And just a quick shout out to Brick. If you haven't had a chance already, he had a great live stream on Saturday night. Keep bricking, of course. And then I don't think that's what it's called, but keep bricking is his statement. And I love that. It makes me laugh every time. But also I watched his Mondo Venom figure unboxing yesterday, and that was hilarious and awesome. Well done, good sir. He's got all of the Mondo Spider-Man line coming in. It sounds like, for the most part, not to speak for anybody, but no pressure now. Now I'm going to be tuning in every Mondo release on Spider-Man. But if you aren't already subscribed to Brick Artemis, please do yourself a favor, and after the show today, go and do so. Sam Fisher from Splinter Cell. Man, that was one of the first games I ever played where hiding in the shadows was an actual aspect of the game that they did so well that it was just like, it was mind-boggling to me that like,
and it was
this
hard.
was now video game technology, and it was really hard. Really hard.
Yeah.
And getting headshots with your silenced pistol and everything, like you could hang from the ceiling, or like there were corridors that were tight enough that you could actually make him kind of do like this like leg split on the wall, so that when NPCs would come underneath you could drop down on them. So cool. I could nerd out about that for a little while. So,
yeah.
But yeah, we got Tomb Raider in the chat as well. Totally, Lara Croft needs to be made. Let's be honest. We also got Movie Cannon in the chat, one of our channel members and a great community member as well. I gotta figure out a way to get myself back on the Movie Cannon soon. It's been a little while, and he's been taking all the greatest of us out there and getting them on the show. So now I'm jealous and I want to come back, Gio. So poke you there as well. But no, good to see you, buddy. Make sure you also subscribe, please, to the Movie Cannon, of course.
Just a quick one. I want to also add
Yeah.
Agent 47 would be a really sweet figure.
Yeah.
Really slick. I mean, there's a couple third-party ones that's already been released, but
yeah,
they're not quite up to that standard.
And feels like it's a pretty easy win, right? Like most people who've played the Hitman games would 100% put that in there, even if it was just like for a video game display, not even necessarily if you're a 6-scale collector. Because that's one of the other things that I always think about with these third-party companies. Like don't just appeal to collectors of 6-scale, like appeal to movie fans or even sports fans or some of those other characters that are just iconic characters in the world, whether they're a real person or a fictional character, to get people hooked on collecting, right? It's because, as we all know, it's a little bit of a drug once you get started on it. So Press X, did you have any thoughts on this one, or did you want to move on, good sir?
I mean, I really like the fact that companies are pushing the envelope, at every level. So you have J&D, who's doing metal skeletons. metal skeletons. And then you have Hot Toys getting into the artisan game with their rooted hair and whatnot, and updated face sculpts. Of course, then you've got Inart, who says, "Oh wait, hold my beer," and then they come out with with their innovations and whatnot. So everything from the magnetic moving eyes to better tailoring to the fact that we no longer see wrist pegs. So seeing it at this level, I really, really appreciate this. And from Limb Toys, I know that they've done previously characters from the Resident Evil game universe. I'm a big fan of Resident Evil. However, I wish they would do from Resident Evil some of the creatures and some of the more or less the villains, the monsters. So if I had a 1/6 scale Mr. X from Resident Evil 2, I think that would be absolutely, or a 1/6 scale Nemesis from Resident Evil 3. I think that would be absolutely incredible on the shelf. So that really would get my attention if they were to come out with something like that, and then I would go all in on that line. So, but I'm excited to see, again, they're taking chances on things that other companies just aren't touching, and so I love seeing that. I love seeing, because again, options, Hot Toys, Jazzinc, Inart, not the only game in town. There are other options out there for other interests, and I think this allows for a display that's not just Star Wars, DC, Marvel.
Yeah, true. And you mentioned the Nemesis. I didn't even think about that because I actually just rewatched all the Resident Evil movies the other day again. I hadn't seen them in, well, I shouldn't say all. I watched the first 3. I couldn't bear to watch the fourth one. The first 3 are fun. The third one gets a little silly. The fourth looks ridiculous. But Nemesis was in 2, X, not to correct you, but he was in 2 because that's where he's fighting Alice like over the freeway section of the movie, and like he's so cool because he's after the stars with this big machine or like minigun and everything. And I feel like if you got a Nemesis though, then you'd need an Alice as well. So like that could be cool. That could be cool.
Well, he was in the second film. He was in the second film, but he was from the third game. I'm talking about games.
Oh, the third game. My apologies. Yes. Misheard you. No, good correction back. No. So solid. Yeah.
Nerds.
No. Okay. Wait. 1 second.
Actually.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to give you this. Okay.
Right, okay, people, you have to tell me these things, all right? I've been frozen for 30 years, okay? Throw me a frickin' bone here. I'm the boss. Need the info. Okay, no problem.
Okay, no problem. It's
Where's Jose?
Stand corrected.
That was good. That was great. That threw me back like 15 years at least.
100%. Yeah, he's saying Nemesis is from 3. Yes, the game version. Yes, I stand corrected. You hate to see it. Guys, we got to talk a little bit about the Human Torch. Let's be honest. Now, I know most of you guys have had a chance to talk a little bit about it. And by the way, I always forget to mention this. We have 70 people watching live. Thank you so much for getting nuts with us here on a Sunday. If you don't mind, hit the like button if you're enjoying the show today. It definitely helps to promote it to other folks out there who might not have got the link from YouTube. Analytics are weird sometimes. So if you don't mind it, hit it. If you're enjoying it, it's very much appreciated. Human Torch was announced this week from Deadpool and Wolverine, and it came with a resounding oof, I think, for the most part, from most collectors. Because for the folks who really, really like the film, I think we were all kind of anticipating that we might get one, although we'd already seen the teases of the rest of the Resistance characters that we still haven't got yet, right? They've teased Blade, but they haven't shown us what that looks like. They've given us X-23, which is great, and she looks amazing. And to be honest, all the other characters so far from this movie look amazing. And so honestly, I thought like this was a pot of gold. Like no matter what they were going to give us from this line, kind of like we saw from the Ahsoka line, it's all going to be good. And like, how could it not be? And when they put this up this week, it was kind of like, who the hell is that? It doesn't look like Chris Evans. What? And then people start telling me it looks like Scott Eastwood, and I'm like, yeah, it kind of does look like Scott Eastwood. And then I'm seeing pictures of him looking like Ewan McGregor at times, and I'm like, oh my god, like what happened here? How can you justify putting this next to such amazing likeness from these other characters from that film, and yet not be slightly offended that they still for some reason can't get Chris Evans' likeness right? You know, like we just saw that updated stealth suit Cap, and even there, I was like, I don't think it's perfect, but it still was a lot better than this one. So, I mean, he's called the Human Torch for a reason. Maybe they have to crisp him up in the oven for a little bit longer before they get that likeness nailed. But in my opinion, like for a $305 figure, not only is that conditioning us into a different level of price point at this point, guys, like they're slowly raising the bar again. The head sculpt's not quite right. I think the outfit is great. Let's be honest. I think the rags that he's got around his neck, or the robe thing, or whatever you want to call it, looks good. I'm curious to see how they're going to do the hand wraps, because in some photos, the hand wraps are not there, but it doesn't look like a disconnected piece. So does that mean we're going to have to unwrap his hand and rewrap it, or like I'm not sure how they're going to do that. And for a figure that's called the Human Torch, there's no light option. You can't light it up, which once again I think is a huge miss, considering how cool like the base is. Like look at this thing. If there was even some level of flickering light in here, it would take these accessories to like an entirely different level, and maybe you'd forget that it doesn't look like Chris Evans. So I'd be curious to see what you guys have to say about it, because I felt feisty on this one. I was like, man, I kind of wanted this character. I kind of liked him from the film, you know? And even if they'd given us another head sculpt where it's like fully engulfed in flames, so if you don't love the likeness, at least you can swap it out. Or they give you like a bag of bones and goo that you could put in your display instead. Might be fun. But I'll leave some meat on the bone. What do you guys think here? Mysterio, I'll go to you first, buddy. What are your thoughts on Human Torch?
This was a tough one to accept. I mean, how many Chris Evans or Captain Americas have we had already, and they still to this point in time cannot nail his sculpt? Like, is it Chris's face really that hard to nail, or I don't know what the issue is, but
his girlfriends wouldn't say so, but everybody else seems to think so.
Yeah, I just don't understand. I mean, everything else looks okay. I mean, the 305 price point doesn't justify it at all to me, especially now, like, considering, hey, we have USB-C stands. We could at least, you know what they did with Captain Marvel? They at least gave us a bunch of accessories with like the hands. You could plug them in with different kinds of fireballs and things like that. I don't know. I could rant and rave about this figure. Like it could be the photos as well, but it just doesn't scream Chris Evans to me. Not yet. Even the newer Captain America, that one was still a little off to me. It looked weird, but the price point is just getting obnoxious now, because you're getting nothing essentially, right? You're getting a couple plastic pieces that are red and orange, throw them in there, and then no light up options. I think something would have been cool is like if they took like that Hulk concept where you could even take off half the body and plug in like a half flame body. That would be sweet. 305, okay, I could consider that, but without even having that singular light up option, just completely blows my mind. It's like, it's almost like they're just giving this to us because they know there's a lot of diehard fans of Chris Evans, and also there's a lot of fans that are Fantastic Four, Johnny Storm fans who want that figure, right? And they'll just buy it for the sake of having it, even though it's not a good figure, right? It's so hard not to swear. You know what I mean? But it's so frustrating that Hot Toys is.
We're past 5 minutes. You can swear a little bit if you want.
It's just frustrating.
There's kids in the room.
For sure. I mean, to me, it's just so frustrating to see this kind of product for that price point, for the amount of times we've been giving the same actor. Right? If it was like a first time around for an actor, and then the likeness is not 100%. So what? Okay, fine. Supergirl, right? When they first announced it was terrible, but
yeah,
they made it look amazing. And I'm trying to chase one right now. Hopefully this is the case for the Flameboy figure. But time will tell. Time will tell. At this moment, you couldn't even convince me or to even reconsider to purchase this figure at all.
True.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said. Thanks for not swearing for all the little kids that watch Let's Get This every Sunday.
For sure.
We appreciate that. I think you made a good point that I didn't mention in my rant. And that is, there have been a lot of figure upgrades from Hot Toys in the last little while. I always kind of wished that if they put a sculpt out, that they would almost always put the caveat under like, likeness under under work or under construction or something along the lines of like, this isn't the best that we have yet, but like, if you like this character and you give us feedback, this will be the trajectory that we go. Something that gives us a little bit of like, okay, I'm willing to put the pre-order down then. I'm at least willing to spend. And because one of the issues that I've had even with companies like Exo6, for example, you guys know I'm a Star Trek collector, and I've been very critical of Exo6 lately because they recently put a pre-order up for a Wesley Crusher that looked like dog shit. And I was like, man, why would anybody want that at this level? Why would, like, I want a Wesley Crusher, but not that one. And I had some comments to be like, well, Ben, traditionally we feel like Exo6 increases makes the prototype look worse than the final production, or the final production ends up slightly being better. And so, cross your fingers, hope for the best. But I don't think that makes sense when we're spending this kind of money. I would never tell a new collector or even a seasoned collector to spend your money on something that you don't love in the hopes that it's going to look better. Because I recently did that with J&D, that Joker. I put my pre-order in on that J&D Joker, hoping that it would blow me away by the time the production came out. And it just didn't, which is okay. That was a gamble that I took. But I still lost $250 American to gamble for the hope in something. And I've been doing this for like 14 years. So somebody who's new to collecting, even in the first 2 years, don't do it. Don't spend your money unless you're happy, and vote with your wallet when they say that. That is something that I think makes sense. Although this is a bit of a secondary character. So when I digress here, I say to you, Press X, what are your thoughts on that? Because, Mysterio makes a good point. They have upgraded quite a few likenesses over the last little while, even on characters that we didn't ask for. So is this one that's maybe just not fully cooked yet?
Then collections are built on hope. So are rebellions, apparently. My thoughts on Flameo Hotman here. The idea that it's like walking into a room. It's like someone walks into a room with their fly down, and everyone sees that their fly is down, and you're like, at some point in time, he's going to zip up his pants. At some point in time. Same thing with this. At some point in time, we hope they're going to do the thing where they showed us something that was a little undercooked. Just to get it out there, they showed us something that's a little undercooked. Maybe they thought they could get away with it. Maybe they thought it was perfect and needed a second set of eyes on it. And now they're getting some feedback, letting them know that people don't quite know who this guy is. From certain angles, do I see Chris Evans? Yes. But is he 100% there? No. And for a character that was, let's face it, was comic relief cut with nostalgia, you're charging $305 for it. So I don't know if you're on board with this character as is, hoping that they're going to improve the sculpts, great. But $305 is a lot to ask for a product that seems undercooked. Ideally you would lead with your best foot, forward. Instead, you led with something that just isn't quite there. Is it dog shit? No, I don't think it's dog shit. I think this could be salvaged. I mean, you think about Obi-Wan Kenobi and his upper lip, which, the controversy that stirred up, and they were able to right the ship. You think about that Supergirl, which if you didn't get it, well, you probably want it now because it's a stunning figure. Is this gonna go the same route? Most likely. They are going to tweak this. Most likely they are going to refine it because they still have a reputation to uphold. Am I confused as to why this was announced prior to Blade, being released, or prior to the rest of the Resistance being released? Are they just going to draw this out as long as they possibly can? The answer is most likely yes, because instead of getting a Blade, we got a Nice Bull, and then we got Flameo Hotman here. And that's all right. Blade is coming. Elektra is coming. Gambit is coming. So I think they're going to fix the sculpt. I do think it's something they're going to refine. It's not their best work. It's not their worst work. So I have faith that they'll be able to, to right the ship on this. It just needs a few more minutes to cook.
Totally makes sense. I think that's a great point. Yeah, especially because the other characters haven't come out yet. I was really excited to see those Resistance characters, and I always wonder, sometimes in all the years that I've been collecting, I've known so many folks that say, "Oh, well, because this one character, I don't love it. I'm now not going to collect the entire line." And it always kind of makes me wonder, like, was that person ever going to collect the whole line to begin with, or was that their reason to not spend money? Or there are those collectors out there who are full line collectors who might be really disappointed by this now, even with the hopes that they'll improve it slightly. I think you made a good point. I've seen people say, well, this looks nothing like Chris Evans, and I do disagree with that. That's one of the reasons that I added this slide initially, because it's like, there are definitely aspects of it that I think look pretty good. I think the face isn't quite as slender enough. There's some tweaks that I think if they did it, it would look a lot more like Chris Evans. I think for me, the hard part on skipping this character in particular, though, was not that it's Chris Evans, but the outfit that he's wearing. I've still got that little bit of nostalgia in my chest for those old Fantastic Four films, and I don't think we're going to get a 1/6 scale original cast Fantastic Four outfit display. So this is the closest you can get, as of at least right now, to having those original costumes in your display if you have some nostalgia for them. And as I said, leading into the new Fantastic Four films that are coming, this might be something that I want to chase down as my punch in the chest slowly gets more excited for the new variations of those characters. But it remains to be seen. X-Men, what do you think, buddy, here on the Human Torch figure? I know you love Deadpool and Wolverine the film, and I know you've been pretty in on this line so far. What are your thoughts?
This is my favorite movie. It dethroned the two top runners that have been there for like the last 35 years. So this movie's a big deal for me. That being said, I'm glad that they put this out, because even with a good head sculpt, I don't care about Johnny Storm. And this allows me to more easily say no to completing the line. Because I was thinking, if all they do is a few more Deadpools, which I will get, and a few more Wolverines, which I will also get, and the Resistance, then okay, I can justify buying the couple of figures I didn't really care for. But honestly, I don't need Elektra. I don't need Blade. They were great to see in the movie, but that's not the Blade that I would want anyway. I thought that costume they could have done better. They could have done better with that costume. It was kind of shitty. But I think it's funny that every announcement they've made for this line has been fire, except for the fire guy. I think that's hilarious.
Kind of ironic, isn't it?
And I almost want them based on that alone. But I think they missed a lot of. I'm sure they'll update the head sculpt. They've updated, like you said, sculpts that didn't even really need it. I'm sure they will make good on this sculpt. But the thing is they really missed a hot opportunity. Did I intend that pun? Let's say I did. They really missed an opportunity with this base, because they could have easily, in a couple of ways that I can think of, thrown a USB onto this, lit up that big fire swirl, and they could have even given some kind of like armature going up from that into him blasting out the flame, to keep that lit up too. They could have thrown a couple of little magnetic, flames here and there across his body that maybe aren't lit up, and that could have been okay. But I think they could have lit this up in a way that maybe wouldn't have been as articulate as people would want it to be, but would have still looked stupid cool. So I feel like they definitely missed a huge trick there. I don't think that I wouldn't spend $305 on this with a good sculpt. So I'm
not even
I'm glad. Yeah,
Go
and I
for
mean,
it.
it's cool that they made them, and I think that base looks stupid cool. If it was lit up, oh man, and hitting it with the right light, I can see this looking really good with the right lighting behind and around and underneath. But man, what a production, right? To have to do that on your shelf. But yeah, man, I'm glad they made it. It helps me to not spend more money that I probably didn't need to spend otherwise. So yeah, I think they'll turn out all right, and I think he'll be a really good figure outside of the non-luminary aspect and the overpricing of it. Uh, you know, friggin' Nice Pool I think was overpriced as well, but I'm gonna spend that money. This right here, no, I don't need that one.
Yeah, totally fair. Totally fair. Interesting thought here from the Snake Eyes new commenter in the chat. Never seen you here before. Says Blade is only for minorities who want representation. I think that is a shit take, in my opinion.
Yeah, I
love Blade.
disagree with that a
I
lot,
love Blade.
actually.
Yeah. And I think that there's a lot of folks out there who would love a Blade, and that has nothing to do with representation. Sorry, but I disagree entirely. And if that's how you feel, this might not be the best stream for you, because I support all minorities, and I think Blade, who was played by a black actor, who basically got Marvel Universe started. Let's be honest. If it wasn't for the success of that actor in that role, before this whole bullshit that everybody talks about, if it wasn't for him, we might not have had all of the amazing superheroes that we have today. So just for that very thing alone, I would want a Blade in my collection. So I 100%. wholeheartedly disagree. But Classy, I'd be curious from you, good sir. When you looked at this figure, what were your thoughts? Did you feel something like Nicolas Cage in this scene?
I'd like to take his face off.
Did you feel anything along those lines?
That was perfect.
Well, when I first saw this, I had a difficult time seeing who he was. And I said, that doesn't look quite like Chris Evans. But the head sculpt is really good looking. I mean, it's an excellent sculpt of somebody. And they did a fine job with the weathering, with the sculpting. It looks good, but it looks more like a Chris Evans impersonator who just happens to be exceptionally handsome. So that's what I was thinking. And when I saw the side by side of the film and him, you're right. The face needs to be a little bit more narrow. And there's a couple of other little tweaks that if Hot Toys does that, they probably will make great improvements over what they have right now. I think this is a good figure, and I like it a lot. It is a little overpriced, but I have confidence that they're going to fix that head sculpt. But I think everything else, the base, the whirlwind effect, the flames that attach by magnets, I think that is very, very cool. And I think that that's something that I'm gonna, I think I am gonna order. You get one of them. I don't know if I'll pre-order, but I think I'll definitely get one.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Well, if you get it, make sure you bring it on the stream so we can see it in hand.
Okay.
Because I feel like there's still a lot of people that are like, no, I'm out. And which is unfortunate because it is a cool character. While it is kind of a secondary character in the film, it was still fun. It was one of those moments when I first saw the film, like I thought maybe they'd bring Chris Evans in, but I thought they might bring him in as a Cap. And so when he came in and he had the cloak over and you could still see the blue and the red underneath, I'm like, oh shit, they did bring in Cap. And so when they take it off and it's Johnny Storm, I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. I kind of like that. I should have expected it, but I wasn't fully expecting it, and I loved that. Would
And
you
from
guys
the
like to
belt
see these-
down, that was Cap.
from the belt.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did it
Yeah.
have America's ass? Is the question.
I didn't look that
I have
hard,
to
be
assume,
honest.
yes.
Yeah,
Because otherwise, I don't know. I just don't know.
right.
But those pants
right.
and boots and the belt, that was Cap chic right there. Mm.
That's awesome. Valkyrie Magnus with a $4.99 super chat, $5 super chat says, "Well said, Ben Thomas. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you there, of course. This stream is meant for everybody. I don't care what color anybody is, whether it's Johnny Storm or the rest, Blade, and all of the things. As you can see from my panel, who is an eclectic group of lovely ass gentlemen, not lovely asses, lovely ass gentlemen. You know what I'm trying to say. But I was
Gentlemen
gonna
unite.
leave. I was gonna leave, Valkyrie. I was gonna just wrap it up, but this is for you instead.
5. I'll stay.
I'll stay because of that $5. So thank you so much for your contribution, good sir. Guys, let's move on because I want to talk a little bit about Inart, and then if there is time left remaining, we got about 30 minutes left of the show. We may talk a little bit about most anticipated for possible release in January. Inart gave us some teases here the other day. Now, of course, I apologize for these photos. They are like the most grainy potato camera photos I've ever seen in my life. And I always hate seeing photos like this because it's like, man, I can't tell if that's good or not for the most part. Like I can see who it is, and some of it looks okay. The Wonder Woman does honestly look pretty sweet. I will give it that. But there's a couple in here. Of course, we're looking at Batman, Wonder Woman, and my personal favorite here on this particular slide, Superman and Clark Kent. I really, really am excited to see that. I do have the Superman right in behind me with his arms crossed, the original Hot Toys version. It does make me wonder if this is going to inspire Hot Toys to now finally give us a 2.0, in which case that figure will crash horribly in value. So I'm going to have to decide if I sell now or take my chances. Let's be honest, Inart, for me anyways, in Canada takes usually 2 years to get, even from placeholder announcement to actual release. So I could probably hang on to that Superman for another 2 years and still be totally good there. But of course, Lord of the Rings, it's good to see that we are going to get a little bit more from Lord of the Rings here with Frodo and Sam. Very cute little characters. As well as The Walking Dead. For me, I'm a little surprised. Like, I know that they'd shown these at kind of one of their recent events, and they did look really good. Negan, Daryl, and Rick, all great characters within the show. Negan pissed me off after, spoiler alert, after he killed Glenn. I think I stopped watching the show after that, to be fully honest. But I would think a Daryl and a Rick at least would be pretty cool. Don't know if I still have enough love in my heart for Walking Dead, though, in order to still collect, and I'd be curious if the panel feels that way. And then lastly, the Harry Potter movie here. Of course, Professor Snape and a Malfoy, which I hated that little bastard, so I would never collect him. That's to be sure. But Snape is awesome, so I mean, maybe. I didn't collect any of the other Harry Potters though, but I just love the way he would say Potter. That's a horrible fact. I apologize. I take it back immediately. That was a horrible interpretation of him. But God rest his soul. I hate to see that he's now passed away, and would be a great character to have. And of course, the looming Harry Potter television show is on the way, to which that role is being recast. So we'll see what that looks like. But I'm curious from my panelists here, as well as the chat. Let me know, guys, what you're most excited for. The one thing I will say before I move to the panel, I'm a little surprised we haven't seen Daenerys Targaryen on the list. Where's the Game of Thrones characters? They teased her a while back, and it was a pretty rough tease. She didn't look very good. And now it's just like, what the hell happened? Where is she? I would love it, Daenerys. So, X-Men, I'm going to go to you first. I'm going to jump around a little bit. What are your thoughts on Inart here, their showcase? Do you wish they'd given us better photos like I do? And what are you most excited about from some of these teases?
Man, a pretty rough tease. Now, I had one of those at a little club in Honolulu like 20 years ago. Talk about it is rough, dude. We won't go into that here. There's some backstage stuff, but I'm glad that I feel accomplished right now looking at this, because I'm at a point in my collecting journey where I look at this Wonder Woman and I can say, you know what? I have the WB100 and I'm good with it. I feel like a real collector being able to say that.
Nice.
but like, and I'm pretty sure this is because it looks like just like a screen shot that they just kind of photoshopped in there. I don't think that's an actual. It doesn't look like an actual prototype to me.
It's hard to tell.
It is hard to tell. I saw it on like a larger screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it on a larger screen, and I'm looking at the bat cowl here, this as the accessory, and that's definitely from the scene where they opened up the thing and he's looking at the suit. Like that's definitely a screen grab. But regardless, we knew this was coming. We've been expecting this for a while. I'm very interested to see what they do with their Wonder Woman, because that's a character that I really, above a lot of others, enjoyed out of the Snyderverse. I don't give a rip for the Snyderverse. I'm glad that's done. But Superman was great. The characters were great. I loved Henry Cavill. I loved Batfleck. I didn't think I would, but I really loved Batfleck. And I loved Gal Gadot. And I'm very interested to see how they tackle these, especially Batman, because, that suit, that's going to be that's a tough thing to get around, it seems like. So I'm very curious to see how they tackle that. But also, again, going back to, this is not breaking any new ground. This is stuff that we've seen everywhere. There are so many options for these characters. That BVS Batfleck 2.0 that Hot Toys is about to release, that looks phenomenal. And the functionality of that we don't see here, at least yet, the ability to put on a fixed cowl that looks, accurate, and then one where his head is separate so he can actually move his neck. I mean, come on, if I want a Batfleck, that's the one I'm going for. So,
even though it's not screen accurate, eh?
I didn't care that much for how he looked in the movie. I loved him as Batman, but I think that the chunky chunk didn't really need to happen like that. I think that's better left to the comics, and I get why they did it, but I think that thick thighs Batman doesn't really need to happen like that. But outside of that, really the one that I've been looking forward to is Christopher Reeve. Because I've kind of been eyeing that old Hot Toy, and I'm not going to go back on anything, but I'd be very interested to see what Inart does with this figure. Right? It may be my first Inart figure. I don't know.
Oh wow,
we'll see. Superman is not a top tier character for me. I like him, but it's Christopher Reeve, so I mean the rest of the stuff. I'm not a Potterhead. I don't really get down with The Walking Dead. I watched the first episode and I just didn't feel compelled to go back to it. Not to say it was bad, it just wasn't my thing. Although I've heard some things that makes me want to go back and watch it, because I've heard about some like barn stuff and some other things. It sounds bad when you take it out of context, but yeah, man, really Christopher Reeve is what I'm looking forward to. I want to see how they rock with that. Wonder Woman, that could be very good. It could be okay. And Batman could be really good as well. It just depends on how they approach it, really.
Yeah. Any interest in Lord of the Rings? I miss if you said.
I like Lord of the Rings, but not enough to buy the figures for it. Like I'm in pretty deep with a lot of other stuff already. So this is for everybody else who's down with the Mordor. But yeah.
Totally. So you think Inart Superman might be your first foray into Inart? That's what you're saying.
Might be. I was very interested in the Cavill because he looks amazing. I've heard that there are some issues with being able to move his head all the way back, which that sucks. And like the suit being as thin as it is, having a hard time interchanging the hands and stuff. Which there are ways to get around that too. But I was very interested in going back and getting that guy and trying to find him. But this one right here, this one's a little higher ranking for me, so I definitely will be watching with great interest on this one.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Bold strategy. Let's see here. Jay. Mysterio. Apologies. Everybody now knows I'm just the worst. I'm the worst host ever. You hate to see it. I don't know who this person is. He just showed up on my stream. You hate to see it. You love to see it. You're doing great. Mysterio, what are your thoughts, good sir, on Inart and the showcase here, is there anything that really stood out to you? Something you're like, oh, I gotta have it, or are these all skips? Where are you kind of at?
Well, I kind of stand on the opposite side of X-Men. I do like the Snyderverse. Um, there are a couple things to take away from that. There's a couple things I'm not a huge fan of, but the overall aesthetic of it, the way it looks, the way they brought those characters on the screen, absolutely love and adore those characters. I'm just glad that Inart is stepping into different licenses. Uh, with Lord of the Rings, with Harry Potter, I'm just glad. I'm super glad that there are collectors out there who are huge fans, and they're finally getting their chance and opportunity to not only get a figure but get one from a reputable, like, is reputable too soon of a word, but a good enough company, to get those figures, right? So we'll see how it goes, right? Like the promotional pictures look pretty promising for the Lord of the Rings and for Harry Potter. There was a video not too long ago I watched about the Walking Dead in art figures, and those look absolutely incredible. Like the rooted hair, the tailoring. It's somewhere out there on YouTube, but yeah, someone filmed it
Riley
with the
reviews?
prototypes. I can't
Riley
recall.
reviews?
Yeah,
Shout out to Riley, just in case it wasn't.
yeah. It's out there for sure, and I watched it a few times over just to go over those details. And I mean, if the production is on the same level as, let's say, Paul Atreides that just released, or the, what is it, 3 or 4 pack Joaquin Phoenix Joker, if Inart's going to keep releasing figures like that, collectors are going to be in for a ride, because with Paul Atreides being the one of the later releases and actually having seen it, it's incredible. When you compare the Inart Paul Atreides to the first Inart Joker, it's a huge difference, huge difference. And with Superman making the waves that it already has in the community, people are just clawing to get them. I could guarantee that Christopher Reeve Superman, Gal Gadot Wonder Woman, and Batfleck is going to be very popular within the community, and it also gives an opportunity for the ones who've missed those first waves of figures from Hot Toys. The Hot Toy figures, I'm not a really huge fan of, especially for the Trinity. I have the first release of the Batfleck and never liked it. Even after seeing the 2.0, I kind of look at it and I'm going, it could have been better. Even like the body's not even right, the abs not even right. The proportion looks kind of odd to me, but hopefully Inart could do it justice. Same thing with the Christopher Reeves. I had the Reeves special edition back in the day, and I ended up selling it. It just looked too outdated with all the new releases coming out. So I eventually got rid of it. I'm actually glad that Inart came out, will be coming out with their version of it. So, with Inart now lighting a fire under Hot Toys' ass, is going to be a very interesting 5 years in the collecting community, because people are trying to fight for that number one spot, because even though Inart has very limited releases, since after the Heath Ledger Joker, they've been hits every single time. Even seeing them in person and seeing them in promotional shots, they've been incredible. So everyone's going to be in for a good ride.
100%. Well said. And I was thinking about Reeves while you were talking there, because one of my favorite parts of his portrayal of Superman is how distinctively different he makes himself, and the way he carries his body and his body language and everything when he's Clark Kent versus Superman. And there's always been kind of that joke of like, oh, you just throw a pair of glasses on him and people can't tell the difference. But Christopher Reeve really personified that, in my opinion, where again he'd bring his hunch forward, his body language, his little kind of stutter that he would do and everything. Like, I thought that was amazing. And so the fact that Inart's looking at giving us both options here for this Superman, I think is great, because both characters really do tell the story in those films for me, as opposed to no slight against our boy Henry, but I kind of always thought Henry's version of Clark Kent looked just like Henry Cavill with glasses on. Like, he didn't really change. He was such a handsome man too, didn't help his cause, but very
true. Yeah,
He was too cool.
It was. There's no way
It was too
Lois
cool,
Lane, crack reporter, didn't know immediately. When she saw that guy, right?
Hey, at least she did though. That was good how they did that. That was good how they did that. At least she was aware, and that was cool.
She was aware at the very least.
That made sense. That was a really good play by them, I think.
And I am hoping to see in the new James Gunn Superman, you can have that kind of level of change, and his Clark Kent to his Superman. We'll see. We'll see. Press X, what are your thoughts here on Inart and some of these teases that are coming? Are there anything that you're surprised we didn't see on some of these slides, character-wise, or anything like that?
Anything that we didn't see? Not in that regard. No. I'm actually surprised that we. I'm surprised. Well, I guess I'm happy that they're going down all these lines that other companies aren't touching. Because, whether it be Walking Dead or whether it's Harry Potter, or Lord of the Rings, they're making a lot of collectors happy, which is great. The Lord of the Rings fans are eating good. The Harry Potter fans are eating good. And now the Walking Dead fans are eating good. So to have, there are more than just, there's more than just DC, Marvel, and Star Wars out there in terms of the collecting community. So the fact that they're willing to put in the work and get the figures in hand, that's the thing, is like you can show all the prototypes you want, you can show all the, you can put up all the pre-orders you want, but can you get it out to the consumer? Can you get the plastic in people's hands? And they're starting to do that at a faster and faster clip. And so I think they've really managed to pick up steam. And I'm really, really impressed by what they put out. I wish I had gone all in on the Fellowship line, but collecting backwards on that is just something that just ain't gonna happen. I'm thrilled that they may be releasing, haven't seen it yet, the definitive Gal Gadot Wonder Woman. Now that we're moving on, James Gunn is taking us in a different direction. We'll be left with the definitive. What I hope is the definitive Gal Gadot Wonder Woman. I'm most excited, of course, for that Christopher Reeve. I don't have one in the collection. Christopher Reeve is my Superman. And so to see it done with what I expect would be just really amazing quality, amazing attention to detail. Hopefully the price is also amazing, but we'll have to see, what options, are coming our way. But the fact that I can finally have a Christopher Reeve in my collection and that I can have the Superman and the Clark Kent version of it as well, that just gets me all excited, the fact that they're putting this out. Now, of course, we know that, it would be surprising if Hot Toys didn't 2.0 their Christopher Reeve, given this is the 90th anniversary of DC. They didn't do it in response to this. Hot Toys can compete on price, but can they get the sculpt to match what I expect the sculpt will be for this release? So I'm excited to see how it stacks up. I'm a little scared as to what the price is going to be. But no, I'm thinking they're really making a name for themselves, not just by doing the same figures as everyone else, but also saying, hey, here's Lord of the Rings. Check it out. You want Lord of the Rings? Here's Lord of the Rings. Here's Harry Potter. Here's Walking Dead. It's not just DC and Marvel, which is I'm excited for.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that so far on the panel and in the chat, the Superman is kind of the one that I think a lot of people are really excited to see. Do you guys think that that we will see a Hot Toys 2.0? Do you think that they're seeing the hype train for this one, or we'll start to really see the hype train for this Reeve Superman? They're going to go, oh, I want some of that money and put out a 2.0, or do you think they'll hold off? They haven't given us up till now, but that's one of the last remaining kind of Hot Toys grails, in my opinion, that and the Jack Nicholson Joker, right? They're kind of up there together of figures that they've not gone back to, who people have wanted if they missed him out on them, all those years ago. What do you think, X-Men Supreme? Do you think they'll do a Hot Toys 2.0? And were you excited about some of these slides that popped up?
Tis the season for remakes, because they're doing it all over the place. Of course, we're about to get back into the swing of things with the entertainment coming up. So maybe they are focusing more now on what's about to happen with Superman, with all these characters. So maybe they won't bother with a Reeve 2.0. It would be a big seller. It would be, I think, a smart decision for them to do so. Because there are those people who are hardcore Hot Toys guys, and they would rather see, Hot Toys redo the one that we already love, rather than, wait for Inart to do it, as everyone likes to say.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, that and like, I like the idea of the definitive Wonder Woman in this, because you look at what they're showing her coming with, like it's looking like we're getting like a different suit. Like we're getting like the darker BVS suit, and we're getting like the lighter, 84 style, more poppy in color. And I think that's fantastic. And that's interesting, the idea of how they're going to do that. I really want to see the mechanics behind that. Because I guarantee it's not going to be where you're just pulling this suit off and then putting this one on. Unless it's going to be something like, a magnet kind of system where it's like a two halves, two shells that you just clamp together. But it'll be interesting. It'll be very, very interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't really thought about the mechanics of how they would actually get that on there, which is true. I do like that they got both color versions, though, because I will say my Wonder Woman 84, I so far think is the best likeness of Gal Gadot next to the Wonder Woman 100th anniversary version that they did. So, she's fantastic. So we'll see. Figurecraft in the chat with us. Hey, fellas, hope you're having a great weekend. Good to see you, buddy, for sure. We had a question in the chat from Blinken. It says, do you think Inart will do a Gandalf the White? From my recollection, Gandalf the White comes up in the second film, correct? Not in Fellowship. And I think for the most part, from what we've seen of Inart figures from Lord of the Rings, it's all been Fellowship. So if they do it, I don't think it'll be for a while. I think it'll be quite a ways out, in my opinion. But I'd be happy to be wrong there too. I think Gandalf the Grey is the more iconic version, and since we already have that in 6 scale from Inart, I think they'll probably leave that for now. I know Gandalf was a very heavily scrutinized figure from the collector community because he's a very beloved character. He never did come with those pants prints, and you hate to see it. You hate to see it. Classy Thomas, last but certainly not least, before we move on to the last leg of the show. Was there anything from these slides that you were like, oh man, can't wait to have this? Or were they a skip for most of them?
Well, I really like Christopher Reeves too. That is probably the one thing that I saw that really appealed to me. The Wonder Woman. The thing that would have made me go all in on Wonder Woman would have been if they'd given me the Linda Carter Wonder Woman. To me, that is the definitive Wonder Woman. Gal Gadot is amazing and did great in the films, but whenever I think of Wonder Woman, I still think of Linda Carter. And Christopher Reeves, I would really like to have some old school people like Christopher Reeves, Gal Gadot, and I would probably put them in a cabinet together with Michael Keaton. That would be my trinity of the old school characters. So I'm hoping that someone will actually fulfill my wish and give me a wonderful Linda Carter Wonder Woman. But that Christopher Reeves looks amazing, and I think it's kind of cool that they're giving us the Clark Kent also. Now, the one thing that I hope that they do, you know what I mean.
He said doo-doo on the chat. Just putting it out there.
The thing that I hope that they will do
Pause.
is to offer the addition to, like if they do a 2-pack, that's fine. But still give us the option to buy them separately. Because I don't know that I really need a Clark Kent, but I would hate to be forced to buy him in a 2-pack just to get that Superman. So that would be the only thing that I would hope from Inart. But yeah, The Walking Dead, I love them, but I love my 3-0 versions, so I don't need them. Harry Potter, don't really need them. I can't think of who else they offered, but like I said, my eyes are on Superman right now.
Yeah. Moose said in the chat he was surprised we haven't seen a Dumbledore yet. I totally agree with that. I'm shocked. That is such a pinnacle character, right? And yeah, I mean, you know what? I love Lord of the Rings. I've just never really wanted to collect from them. I told the story a while back, but one of my last theater experiences where I actually had to remember like lining up for a movie and standing outside was for Return of the King, and I really liked the girl that I was with. Now I was heavily in the friend zone with that person, unfortunately. So I went and stood in line with her for 4 hours to go and see this 4-hour film. It was the longest 8-hour movie day I've ever had, and then she ended up dating my best friend. So I am salty when it comes to the Lord of the Rings now. I think it just turned me off of it. But otherwise, I think they're all freaking really cool figures. So I hate to see it. And hopefully that girl doesn't watch the show because she's a cosplayer now, which is also very badass. So maybe she knows. But guys, let us know in the chat. What do you think about the Inart teases? Hopefully we'll get some better photos here soon. Sorry for the horrific quality images. I know some of you guys have like 80-inch televisions and this looks probably terrible right now, so I apologize in advance, but I'd be curious to see what you guys are saying are your most anticipated. And do you think I should sell my Christopher Reeve Superman before it like plummets in value like my DX11 did? Because I'm at the point now where like I'll never get rid of DX11 because I don't feel like giving it away, basically. So we'll see. Guys, last segment of the show, we're going to try and keep this to about 10 minutes because I want to respect my panelists' time today. Yes, Ben didn't score. Yeah, I hate to see it. Lord of the Rings. No ring for this guy. Potential releases starting January 2025. Let's give a good shout out to Collector Joey, one of our channel members, also one of the esteemed folks out there in the 6-scale community. Awesome dude. And puts a lot of time, I'm sure, into these slides because, man, this would take a lot of time to put together. And I love how very clear he is. According to Sideshow's estimated ship dates as of July 7th, 2025, which means this is not confirmed. This isn't fake news. This isn't us trying to say this is 100% coming, because as we all know, for the most part, these dates are pretty flexible, from Hot Toys especially. Sometimes they're faster, sometimes they take longer. But if all of these were on schedule as of January 7th, then there's some cool ones coming up. I would say my top 2 most anticipated from this list, for me at the very least, is the Joaquin Phoenix Joker. I didn't go in on the Inart, but I still want that representation of the Joker because I've got every other Joker in my collection. He's the only Joker I don't have. So I definitely need that one. And before the Inart tease today, I was going to say the BVS Batman, the 2.0, because I do have the Nightmare Batman, but I want to try and get all of like the kind of what's the best way to say it? Like the black suited versions of the Batman, like the fully like the proper film look of that Batman. And while the Nightmare Batman is a really cool figure, he's dressed up. You can't really see his whole outfit. You know what I mean? And so that was kind of a second list, but I may now wait for the Inart. We'll kind of see there. So that may change that. Otherwise, it would have been Han Solo for me, but I will admit, as of last week, I did cancel the Han Solo because I didn't want to get the Chewie as well. I didn't want to have to go in on the whole Return of the Jedi line. I'm still kind of hoping that down the line we'll see an Empire Strikes Back Han. But I'm really excited to see how it comes out because some people loved the sculpt, some people said it was ass. So let's see how it shakes out in the long run, of course. But Mysterio, in terms of the upcoming potential releases, again, these are not 100% confirmed dates. They are subject to change. But are there any 2 figures on here that really stand out for you that you're most excited about for release in January?
For sure, the first place will definitely be the Feral Predator. Absolutely
nice.
love that movie, and the details and the updates made to that creature's design is very, very intriguing and very. It's actually quite different from the previous Predator designs. But if Hot Toys was to nail this figure, it's going to be. I would think it would be a grill. It would be up there
One
with
hell of a
like.
presence.
Yeah, it's a big figure, and it'll be up there with like the Celtic and the Elders. Second place is a toss up, really. I kind of want to say the Black Suit Spider-Man Toby.
Yeah.
Fair. Yeah, I don't know, that one's screaming to me. It's like that would be something that I would love to get my hands on and just have some good photo shoots with it. It'd be really, really fun. And I guess the cheat that I'm going to say is probably Black Manta. Honorable mention, yeah, Black Manta.
Nice.
Like, not a big fan of the movie, but the look of it and the aesthetic, and also the comic book version is just too much fun. It's a lot.
I've heard people straight up say they forgot that figure was even coming, and I'm kind of one of those folks. Like, it's cool and is a badass villain.
It's so different, yeah.
I did forget that it was coming, but yeah, in terms of a presence in the display, hell yeah. You know, my issue with the Feral Predator was from the Prey film was that I really liked the girl in the Prey film. I thought like she was the standout character, and without her and her dog companion, it is an awesome Predator. But it was one I chose to skip on because I actually have the NECA version, the 7-inch scale one, and that NECA figure is actually a pretty cool little figure. So, but I'm willing to be wrong because I know once I see collectors put that in their display, it's going to be like, oh man, that's so freaking cool. So I will also be curious to see, since you mentioned the black suited Spider-Man here, there's been this movement from Riley Reviews and Nick's _ collectibles for it feels like 2 years now. Maybe it's not quite that long, but they update Black Suit Spider-Man, because there's some pretty obvious like misses on it in terms of like accuracy at the very least. The Venom sculpt even that it comes with, that symbiote there, isn't really the right looking symbiote. Like there's a bunch of things that those boys over there have been hoping they could petition for change on. And of course, like they gave us updates on things like Mantis, but so far no update news on that figure. So it is one of my more anticipated figures just because I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to shake out, or if they're going to be like, screw you guys, you're getting what we give you, and we'll get it exactly as it is. But stands the test of time. We'll see. But great list, Mysterio, for sure. X-Men Supreme, what would you say are your top two on here? You can have an honorable mention if you'd like. Anything that you're excited for in terms of release in January?
Yeah, there are too many on the list that I already have on order that need to go off the list due to recent everything. We're all feeling it, but very, very top of my list here has been for a long time that artist in Wanda. She has been my favorite MCU character up until the point where Wolverine kind of arrived. It's like jury's still out. Is the Void part of the MCU? It's outside of space and time, so I would argue no. But she's my favorite MCU character proper, and she's just, I don't know what it is, but she's such a powerful character, and they haven't fully explored that yet. And I really want to see them really let her do her thing. Here coming up. I'm really looking forward to something happening with that. Whether they do or not, who knows? But that's my number one, definitely. This was a base done right with this figure. This is fantastic. I'm tempted to go and find like a battle damaged Thanos, just to like rig him up in the display and have her just giving him the crunch, But that's gonna be one of the centerpiece kind of pieces, I think, in my collection, probably for my MCU at least. And second on the list has to be Ahsoka the White. Ahsoka is like my second favorite Star Wars character, next to Revan. I've been excited for this since the show happened. Like, I love Ahsoka. I'm looking forward to getting her, and I have the young Padawan Ahsoka on my order list as well. But I don't know, man. She might take a back seat to some of the other stuff that's coming out lately. But we'll see how that goes. I have a display idea for all of my Ahsokas. I have the other two already, and these two will just make that display really awesome. So we'll see how that goes. But those are definitely the ones that I'm looking at for sure.
For sure. That wand is, I think she's going to be amazing. And Artisan so far doesn't seem like it's disappointing, which I'm very happy to officially, or unofficially report on. I think most people have been pretty happy with what they've got from Inart, or not Inart, sorry, with Artisan. So I think that's been great. I do have the Multiverse of Madness wand in my collection, and she's
awesome.
I love her likeness. She's beautiful.
Yeah, she is.
It's terrifying all at the same time. And that Ahsoka, you're good call on that one, dude, because the increase in likeness from that first release to this one,
oh, it's
I thought
insane.
it was a massive jump. She looks fantastic. Rosario Dawson is so beautiful. So I always sometimes I'm critical of beautiful people because I think that they're hard to capture, which maybe is why we can't get a good Chris Evans. So I was worried we'd never get a good Rosario, and she is a good Rosario. So very excited to see how those shake out.
Yeah.
Great picks. Press X, what do you think, buddy? Anything? I mean, I know you've been relatively new to streaming lately. Have you been finding that, like, with all the streaming, you're buying more than you would have before? Or have you been able to keep a hold on it when it comes to these monthly release lists? What are your most anticipated here? Top two.
Ooh, my wallets, my emotions. So here's the thing: with more of with the streaming I've been doing, if anything, I'm thinking about these figures more and more, and my relationship to collecting. And so, if anything, I've actually pumped the brakes on a lot of figures that I normally would have taken home, because I've just been thinking about them, so much, and talking about them, more than I normally would. It's weird because you try to go up to someone on the street and start talking about $300 figures, and they think you're nuts. Here, it's okay to get nuts. So I definitely appreciate you offering up this platform. So with that,
She's quite a tough nut, and I'm quite a tough nut to crack.
Very well played.
Sorry to interrupt.
So yeah, no, that was fantastic. So with that said, I find that on this list specifically, because there are some that are coming next month that I'm still terrified, mainly space-wise, but Han Solo, of course, original trilogy. I've managed to shift a great amount of my Star Wars collection towards original trilogy and step away from, the Star Wars Disney shows, because, the Disney shows, I find that there are so many of them. They're in one ear and out the other. They don't stick. And so then whenever I get any of the figures from the shows, those are usually the first figures that are out the door. Those are the first figures that leave my collection. And, they've done some really great figures for those shows. It's just they don't have the same impact as the original trilogy or Rogue One. So having Han Solo come into the collection, a proper Han Solo, because I don't yet have a proper Han Solo, that'll be great. He'll stand right next to Wicket. And then the Joaquin Phoenix Joker, I'm really, really interested to get that in. I'm really, really interested to get that in hand, because with Inart releasing their version of it, I want to see how it stacks up. Because for the Hot Toys version, the price was right. I didn't have to go in for a 2-pack. I got the version of it that I absolutely wanted, which was the red suit, and from the first film. And this is the representation that I want in my collection. Much like you, I have every Joker. Joker is one of my favorite characters, and so I have every iteration of the Joker that I can get my hands on, and this was one that was missing. So I'm really excited to get this, and the diorama base that it comes with. I can't wait to try to squeeze that into my display as well. But to see how it stacks up against the Inart, that will be something else. Honorable mention, I would say Shin Hati. Mainly for the people who got Balin Skull. You can't have Balin Skull without Shin Hati standing next to Balin Skull, so that's going to make for one epic display.
Very good list, dude. So yeah, very good list. It's interesting. All of our lists have been a little different so far. It just goes to show you how exciting and good this list of January actually is, right? And all the excitement in the community. Last but certainly not least, Classy Thomas, any two figures on here that you are excited for release in hopefully in January here?
Well, I would probably say that I'm looking forward to these Spider-Verse figures of Miles Morales. And I think there are 3 of them on there.
Yeah, Spider-Punk is in there.
So I'm going to count them all as one because I'm also excited about Wanda. I don't have the artist. I have the sculpted hair version. But yeah, I think that I'm excited about all the Miles and Wanda. That will be my pick. I know I just cheated there just a little bit, but hopefully you'll just excuse that too. Might not ever being able to listen to instructions.
That's fair. That's fair. Maybe I wasn't clear enough in my nutty ass instructions. Who knows, really, honestly. And you're the longest running guest here, so all the power to Classy Thomas for breaking all of the rules, as is tradition. Guys, that is our show for today. I want to say a very, very special thank you to all of my panelists. Mysterio, this is your first live stream on Let's Get Nuts. I hope that you enjoyed yourself. I hope you'll come back in the future. We got you in our chat now, our group chat for Let's Get Nuts.
A lot of fun. Thank you.
Absolutely, dude. Like I said, literally on the show last week, if there's anybody out there that wants to get their foot wet or feet wet, hopefully you have more than one foot. But if you only have one foot and you want to get it wet with streaming, you can always do it here on Let's Get Nuts, assuming that you're cool and appropriate, and don't break the rules like freaking Classy Thomas over here. And Mysterio, I'd say you nailed all of those things today, buddy. Is there anywhere that the folks out there can find you? Is this inspiring you to create your own YouTube channel in 1/6, or are you just looking to be a guest every once in a while? Where are you at?
Well, a few years ago, I did start a YouTube channel. It's under the same name, Mysterio Meotics. But with COVID happening and my professional career taking off, it took a bit of a backseat. But now with 2025 starting up, things calming down, I'm more situated, things are a bit more comfortable, more time, better management. I'm hoping to get into the rhythm of content creating and live streaming, of course, because I think it's really fun to get the brain and the ideas flowing in. So, I want to thank you, Ben, for bringing me on board and to actually, stimulate those ideas, and looking forward to more shows.
Hell yeah, dude. And sorry, I put you on full screen because I was just looking in your collection in the back there. It's some pretty awesome stuff. So
thank you.
Maybe we will force you to do a collection tour here at some point because everything's looking real good there. Really good. And you're in the groups quite often, right? You're posting photos in the groups. I've seen quite a few times and stuff. So, and just in case anybody was new to the panel or the show or late to the show today, Mysterio lives in the same city as me, which is cool. I just recently sold him a figure. And so not only do we get to meet in person, but it's also good to get a chance to know you a little bit better. Good sir. Maybe we should go to the Comic Calgary Expo this year ourselves on one of the days and do some blogging or something. That could be fun. So we'll
I'm definitely down for that. That'd be fun.
A possibility. Hell yeah. But dude, you're welcome back anytime. Thank you so much for being here, being a great guest.
Thanks, everyone.
Lots of great takes for sure. Press X to continue. Our other newest guest on Let's Get Nuts. Once again, same thing to you. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you enjoyed being here, good sir. It was lovely to have you. Anything coming up for you, man, that we can be excited for you on?
Well, thank you again for the invitation. Both of my feet are quite wet, so thank you for that. I will leave with wet feet. You will next see me. I'll be on Say What Wednesday with Lael this Wednesday, and then I'll be on Best of the Best, Jay's channel on Thursday. So you'll see me on both of those Wednesday and Thursday. Otherwise, I'm over on YouTube, probably posting photos of my record collection, my other plastic obsession, But yeah, no, thank you so much. I had a blast hanging out with all y'all. Classy Thomas, thank you. It's so good to finally meet you because I've heard so many good things about you, and so it's great to be on a panel with you.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. And for the record, no thanks ever needed from me. You guys helped me make a show great. If I was just sitting here talking to myself for 2.5 hours, people would think that I had a problem and might commit me. So I am very appreciative of the folks who show up and take time out of their weekend to help me get crazy on the show. So I love you guys. That goes for everybody watching in the chat as well. We still have 70 people in the chat. And if you forgot, if you don't mind, hit that like button before you leave today. It's very, very helpful to get the show out there to everybody. But press X to continue, dude. You are welcome here any time you wish. I will keep you in our Let's Get Nuts chat every single week. I always put up the flag to say who wants to be in. So it's first come, first serve. If you want a chair, you always have one here on the show, of course. X-Men Supreme, Mr. Dave, becoming one of our pretty regular guests here, buddy. I'm gonna have to send you a t-shirt soon, or a sticker at the very least. Anything coming up for you, buddy, that you're excited about for the week that you wanted to shout out?
Yeah, I'm gonna be getting down with Geo over at the Canon Council a little bit later. We're gonna be doing that. Brick's gonna be there, so it'll be a fun time. Let's see. This week, other than that, work's gonna start picking up for me. It looks like here for the year, so that'll be interesting juggling things. I'm gonna be getting out of town, heading down to Kansas City, getting some barbecue. It's gonna be awesome. But it's always a great time to be here with you, Ben. I really appreciate you setting up this forum for people to come on, just talk about stuff. I know a lot of people do it, but not everybody does it the same way, and it's appreciated to have so many different outlets to come on and listen to people's opinions and hear what everyone thinks about what's going on. Because sometimes, you know what, you got to make decisions and you need a little bit of help with that, and it's good to hear that you're not quite wrong or crazy. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
It's been great to stream with Mysterio and Press X. Good to see you guys in person, so to speak. It's wonderful talking with you guys. Classy Thomas, great to be back on a stream with you again, sir. I know that the orphans have been running amok, but now the sheriff's back, so I think it's time they settled their shit down. But man, it's been a great time seeing you guys, and I always look forward to it, man.
Hell yeah. Well said, buddy, and thanks for being here again, as always. OG fan, when Star Wars was just Star Wars, says, that's not true. I enjoy solo hosts, and back in the day before Avenger level panels, one via the host versus audience was a good thing. I've been nervous to try it. Maybe I should try it. Again, I listened to Shout Out Jedi Night's Watch show from, I think, yesterday or the day before today in my headset while I was working. Probably should have been working harder, but don't tell my boss. But honestly, it was a great show. All he did was chat with the people in the chat. So if you guys want to see me do that on this channel, I'd be happy to start. But I just don't want to necessarily stream to like one person. So if you guys will show up, I will do it. But yeah, definitely. Let's see how she goes. Put some feedback in the chat for me, and I will consider it. Yomo, I didn't get a chance to say hi to you earlier, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Hope your little one is doing well. Last, once again, but certainly not least, we classed up the stream today, as we should. I've been eager to get you back, Classy. I know you're still not 100% yet, so thanks for pushing through. Thanks to everybody who was patient with us today to allow Classy to be back and give his take, even if he's a little winded, because we love the man, obviously, and it's always good to have you here. Is there anything coming up that you're excited for, Classy? I know we're looking at doing a Spider-Man deal at some point, maybe this week. Anything else going on for you, buddy, that we can be excited for you on?
Well, I can't say that I have anything in particular going on in the figure world right now. I'm still just working on trying to improve my lung. As you can tell, I'm still on oxygen, and
that's not oxygen. That's definitely weed. I'm
Yeah.
just putting it out there.
Say what?
That's not oxygen. That's definitely weed, right?
Yeah, I wish it were.
Okay. Next time.
But yeah, so and I'm also doing a lot of physical therapy and speech therapy. reason I've just had a lot of things kind of shut down and then are turning back on. So I'm going to have, I'm actually working on things right now. But I appreciate the fact that you allowed me to test out my voice and see how a little bit of sexy ASMR. That might be what I need. That might be my new thing. I might have to start up a thing to say 1/6 ASMR and do something like that. But I've enjoyed streaming with all of you guys. Mysterio, pleasure to meet you. X-Man, as always, it's always fun streaming with you, and X, to continue. I have enjoyed interacting with you in the chats. It has been such a pleasure. So I'm glad that we got a chance to stream together. Hopefully this will not be the last time.
Will not be, absolutely. And you talking about turning things randomly turning back on and sexy ASMR, this is all I could think of.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
It jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it?
It did jump up a notch. Well said, Classy. Good to have you back here, man. Well, let's say a quick shout out to all the Tough Nut crew. Once again, if you guys are interested in becoming on this list and having your name read out at the end of every show, seeing your name roll in the credits after my regular weekly videos or live streams, the channel membership link is there, but of course, no pressure either. We're just happy to have you here, whether you're a subscriber or just a casual viewer. But the Tough Nut crew deserves a special shout out. So we got Elvin J collecting weekly money, Mendez figures and fandom, 6 scale Mafia, 1/6 figure Focus, Feezy's figures, King Dingling, Sith scale collector, Paul Schreiber, The Batman, The Movie Canon, Parks Industries, SpongeBob Square Balls, Rogue One Photography, Peter Cass, 1 Adam 12, Ryan Smith, Collector Joey Sam, Gist, Rachel Miller, Jose G Hernandez, Jose Plus, of course, as you know him, 12-inch Moose Stream Collection Obsession, Blurred Dad Life, Balls, Honest Ansel, Pop Culture Relics, Harry Dempsey, Figurecraft, Trevor Weed, Big Rib, or as Dean would say, Big Rib, X-Men Supreme, Don Maton, Figure in a Bubble, Valkyrie Magnus, Brick, Artemis, Alex Serrato, OG fan when Star Wars was just Star Wars, and our newest channel member, who I apologize have not got you on the credits yet, but Tijuana Mike, aka King Chiro. Thank you so much for being Tough Nut channel members. OG fan when Star Wars was just Star Wars, just gifted 5 Ben Thomas Show memberships as well. Dude, thank you so much. I appreciate it. This is for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that generosity there. Hopefully those folks will stick around. Some people saying they're a Spock nut. I will update you there if any of those nuts are not quite corresponding with your level of membership, because that takes a lot of work, surprisingly. But guys, all of that being said, I'm happy to say this. Classy. We got nuts. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Wow, what a great one. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already.
Where's I go? What do I do?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. It's gone. It's all gone.